It's the end of season 1.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Can you believe it? Can you believe we're here, Miko?
I can't believe we actually launched a podcast, Liz. We said we were going to do something, and then we did it.
We did it. Who knew?
And people listened to it.
Yeah, they did. So this is producer Liz and producer Miko speaking to you from the future, way after the last episode that you're about to listen to. And we just wanted to come in and say thank you to everyone who listened and hung out with us and joined the Discord and liked posts and shared it with friends. We're so thankful that people wanted to go on this weird journey with us.
Yeah, it's been so rewarding, and we got to learn a lot about other people's favorite hot baddies already. We definitely want to do more content, and we're just so excited that you liked the first season.
You may have heard us say in some previous episodes that Twilight was going to be the mid-season finale, and we changed our minds. This is the last episode of season 1, and what that basically means is that we're working on season 2, but we're probably still going to try to pre-record most or all of it. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to be on a little hiatus, and there's still a lot of episodes to listen to if you haven't listened to all of them yet, and they're all available everywhere podcasts are found. We have a cool new feature that we just turned on last week for voice messages. So anyone can go to anchor.fm. That's anchor, like a ship's anchor, anchor.fm/Hot Baddies Club. And you can leave us a 60-second message. Obviously, don't be gross.
Keep it classy, people. Thirst for your hot baddies, but keep it classy.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're really excited about that, and we might fold those into some kind of bonus episode or use it in upcoming episodes.
Yeah, this is definitely continuing. We already have tons of ideas for season 2. We have lots of new things we want to try. There might even be some fun surprises between season 1 and season 2. And we're going to announce what's coming in the next season. And you can keep the conversation going with us on all our social media and on Discord, where lots of other people are talking about their favorite characters and also the episodes that we covered already. So this is not the end. It's only the beginning.
Discord.hotbaddies.club is how you can join the Discord. And the website is hotbaddies.club. And if you go to links.hotbaddies.club, you can get a nice list of links to all of our accounts and everywhere we have the podcast. And it's all really easy.
It's so easy. So easy, even a vampire could do it.
So easy, even the worst versions of werewolves could do it.
As easy as tucking your denim shorts into a bush.
Yeah, we just wanted to pop in and say thanks, and we hope you enjoy the second part of Edward's episode / Twilight.
Hot Baddie Club, Liz and Miko.
Right, but what we're really here to talk about is your time at San Diego Comic-Con, right?
Okay, yeah. From when I read the books to by the time the movies were coming out, I had distanced myself a lot from Twilight, even though I still liked it. It was still an important book to me. I would not mention to a soul that I had read them or that I was interested in them because of how shitty people were about it. But unrelated to that, I also loved comic books, and I was fortunate enough as kind of like my graduation present from my parents was to be able to go to San Diego Comic-Con when I graduated in 2009, the first year that the Twilight movies were coming out. Obviously, people were obsessed with them. And that was one of the first years that San Diego Comic-Con, or at least it was like a notable one because it was definitely turning more into a media convention and not a comics convention.
It is, yeah.
Games and movies and stuff that isn't just comics. So obviously there was sentiment from people who were quote unquote like the right type of nerds who were like, oh, San Diego Comic-Con's getting taken over by teenage girls. Because when you walked into the convention center, there was a huge like in convention center billboard for Twilight with like the movie poster on it. There's lots of stuff that happens like this if you've never been to a comics convention, where certain brands or publishers or whatever will be like, oh, come find us on the convention floor because we're going to have these limited edition whatevers. And if you come up to us, we'll give you one. But you have to find the person that has the bag or the badge or whatever. And so they tried to do one of these like impromptu things at a booth to give out some theatrical movie posters for Twilight. And they had to stop because there was like a trample risk, like a stampede risk, because all these Twilight fans like rushed and like somebody was going to get hurt. So they had to stop. That was what was happening. There were people who were there just for Twilight because there was like a panel and there was like all this stuff.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people at Comic-Con who were like, this isn't what Comic-Con's for, and like, how dare they? I just remember being there. Like, I wasn't there for Twilight. I had kind of distanced myself from Twilight. I didn't try to go to the panels or anything. I wasn't a screaming fan, but I just remember that being kind of like the vibe. And there was actually, Miko, you brought up that thing where you said you remember Kevin Smith saying something, and we found the video and we'll link it. The beginning is like really nice. I'm glad that he said that, especially in front of all these guys who were there to see Kevin Smith, aka Silent Bob.
Yeah.
From the Clerks movie. Like, you know, he's a writer and director in his own right.
He's really interesting because at this point he's doing like a podcast empire. Like, he was one of the first people to really embrace podcasts. And that was about the time that he discovered how much he liked to be stoned, which is kind of a funny thing about Kevin Smith. He made all these movies like Stoners Love with stoned characters in them. But he was like, had never done drugs until like...
What? I didn't know this.
This is such a rabbit hole, but apparently he had not done drugs for a large part of his career until like Seth Rogen and him were hanging out. And then Seth changed his life. Like,
he was like, damn, pot is actually great.
Yes, on his podcast, you could hear him flicking the lighter constantly. Like, it's so
of course.
obvious they are like out of their minds all the time. But yeah, so I also wanted to say, if you've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, people who go to a lot of conventions often refer to this one as just Comic-Con because it is like the biggest one. Like, everybody knows. You may have a Comic-Con in a city that you live near, but this one is the one that like movie stars and directors are at. Like, it is, as Liz is saying, it's a much bigger deal in terms of like the fame of the people that are there. And it is a massive space. It is many football fields long, like just a giant room full of, I want to say it's like 100,000 people or something. Like, it's on another scale to other conventions.
Basically, if you're a fan of anything, you can go there and like find any major thing, any MCU, any movie franchise, any game franchise, any comic franchise, any whatever. At the time in 2009, you know, we were making conversation with people in front and back of us in line while we were waiting to enter. And it's like, you know, in front of us, we have people from the 501st or whatever, you know, stormtrooper, like plexiglass, whatever, custom armor. And the guy behind us had like a custom tattoo. I can't even remember what it was. It was maybe a mixture of like Star Trek and something else, like a hybrid tattoo. It was like two things he really liked, two great flavors that taste great together as like a random tattoo that he had. It was like, this is everyone in line is just obsessed with comics and Star Wars and Star Trek and
absolutely
whatever, just like the biggest nerds.
It's just such a wild event because like you could just be walking the floor and walk by like famous actors and stuff that are just enjoying themselves. They're not even on at a booth or anything yet. They're just walking around doing their own thing. But yeah, back to Kevin Smith. So the year that Liz went to Comic-Con just happens to be the year that the Twilight movie was super big. And I remember online, Kevin Smith, the director, was really defending them. And then it turns out he also defended them during his panel. And I thought that was really sweet of him because I think it's partly because he had a preteen daughter at the time. And he was like, why are we trying to keep women out of comics, like out of nerd stuff? I thought that was really cool of him. Of course, he does it in his Kevin Smith way when you watch the clip.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that I was like, ooh, that's a little icky. But whatever. I think,
It's
you
totally
know,
his humor, though, right?
it is his humor, and he's speaking to that audience because, like, you can hear it in the clip where it's like, he's like, oh man, Twilight's here. And basically the whole crowd, and he fills like the huge theater, right? This is actually the same theater that the Twilight panel was in. He fills just himself, just Kevin Smith talking.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of guys who are like into his work, which is a totally different demographic, obviously. And yeah, he does like stand up for the Twilight fans because he brings up Twilight and the whole theater is booing and saying like, fuck them and stuff like that about people who are there for Twilight. And he's like, no, guys, listen. Comic-Con's great because it's the only place where you can have somebody in a Spock costume look at somebody in a Chewbacca costume and be like, look at that fucking nerd. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, it's just a different fandom. And just because it's geared towards teenage girls doesn't mean that it's better or worse. I thought that was really nice that he did that, even though there's some other stuff he says in the video that you might find questionable for basically everything after that point. But I thought that was a really nice sentiment that he said that.
And we'll link this in the show notes for everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to the spoiler episode. The special mid-season finale episode. I'm your host, Miko.
And I'm your host, Liz.
This is the Hot Baddies Club.
I love those hot baddies. Hot Baddies Club, Liz and Miko.
We talk about fictional characters that we have a crush on that are a little bit bad. Sometimes they're villains, sometimes they're anti-heroes. Sometimes they're just, sometimes their mouths are just full of venom. And
sometimes they're 100-year-old vampires that want to date a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah. So immediately how this podcast gets on a list somewhere, right?
That 100-year-old vampire that wants to date, marry, and impregnate a 16-year-old girl. Totally normal. Totally.
But the important thing is he waited till they were married.
Right. That's the most important part. And that she was 18, I guess.
Yes, he waited. He did everything legally. Everything
legally and spiritually.
Does he get more points for that?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so we're going to get into these spoilers. If you have not read or watched Twilight and you do not want to be spoiled for the general content of the story, you can go back and listen to our spoiler-free episode. But before we get into the spoilers, we like to do a thing called reading the tags from our database.
I see you tag you when you're it.
We have a database of all the hot baddies, and the tags are what we feel makes them into hot baddies. And this is just a little way for you to tell if this is a character that you're going to be into. Liz, do you want to go ahead and do the tags?
Okay, so the tags are popular. Twilight's super popular. Okay, controversial. Male. Vampire. Love interest. Psychic. Actually old. Fucking rich. And sporty. Those are our tags.
Yeah, so he doesn't have any that super stand out except for, I think, the psychic and the sporty.
Well, that's because he's the fucking prototype, Miko.
We don't have a tag for like a musical, but doesn't he play the piano?
Yeah, we have can sing. Should we change can sing to just general musical ability?
I don't know. I think you should add a new one.
Oh, okay, I see. Has sing is special to you.
I feel like there are characters who the fact that they can sing is like this big deal in their plot for some reason.
Okay, Twilight fact number 5,000 that's in my brain now from doing research for this episode. Robert Pattinson played the piano for it. Bella's Lullaby, because he can actually play piano.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. I was expecting you to be more impressed by that.
I was distracted by looking at the list of people who can sing.
I see.
That is, I feel like you might have told me about that before, and it's still very cool. See, our Pats, he wasn't phoning it in. He was
No,
caring.
he really wasn't. He read the books. Listen, he had highlighted sections. He knew how many times Edward frowned in the first book. So
yeah, exactly.
he's a true fan.
All right, so this is the spoiler line. We're crossing the line now. Point of no return.
Treat me so nice, baby, you spoil me.
So we're doing things slightly differently this time. I think we do have kind of a big section that's more about Edward and Bella's relationship combined. And then we'll do game time. And then just total chaos occurs at that point. Because there's a lot to say about Twilight, despite us taking things and saying, we won't talk about this and we won't talk about this. We still have way too much going on. You know what? I actually don't have in my notes what the first impression, how Edward is first introduced. Do you have that?
Yeah, I have it.
A pretty face and personality.
So the first time, I guess we can give context. The first time that Bella sees Edward is in the lunchroom on her first day of school. And there's a lot that's just like general impressions of the whole family because all the Cullens and Hales sit together. And they are inhuman and perfect, and there's a lot of stuff about how bad every girl in the room must feel because Alice and Rosalie are so hot, because that's how that works. It's a competition, and when one woman looks better than other women, conventionally every other woman feels bad about themselves in the room.
I mean, in high school, I think that can happen, but not like universally.
So the first time their eyes meet, so Bella asks, like, who are they? And then Jessica, who also gets like a lot of hate from Bella internally in her inner monologue, like, oh, some girl that I can't remember the name of that prattles on and on. They're sitting in the cafeteria and Edward is Edwarding.
Interesting. It's a pretty, like, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but I think in the movie it's more like they're like zooming in on him a lot, right?
Yeah.
But the gist of the scene is that it happens at school lunch. The Cullen family all sits together. They are all vampires. They say they're brothers and sisters, which is kind of funny because, as we find out later, there's two couples and then Edward, who's just by himself.
It's very carefully broken up because there's the Cullens and there's the Hales, and they were adopted from different families. They're not related.
Oh gosh, you're right. Yeah, but they don't look anything alike. They're just all very attractive.
Yes. It does say Edward has reddish brown hair and that he's gorgeous. There's some lip biting.
There's always some lip biting.
This is the thing that I think is notable about the first impression, is that it isn't just talking about what Edward looks like the first time that we get introduced to Edward. It's setting up a whole vibe, which I think it's a minor miracle that I didn't ever end up in an absolutely terrible relationship, because I think that this whole vibe of like the guy that's really mean and doesn't care about anything, but you're the exception. This is setting up like the pick me girl, the like you're not like other girls, you know, this whole thing. It's like, yeah, he's mean and terrible and doesn't care about anyone, doesn't talk to anyone, is obviously super hot, and he doesn't like anyone but you. That is what's being set up, not what he looks like. Not that they have like a chemistry. There is a little weird thing where like he's trying to figure out why he can't read her mind or whatever. But this thing where it's like he has no interest in anything and he can't stop looking at you.
Right. You feel special.
Exactly. But that's not a good dynamic. It isn't the good dynamic that like this person makes you feel special because they're actually really mean and terrible, but they have an intense interest in you. So that is our actual first impression, is that Edward is a dick, but he's really into Bella from the jump.
I think there's just a lot of like staring and shivering going on, because it also happens later when they have to sit next to each other in the biology lab.
Yeah, in biology.
And that's like it's not like the very first time she sees him, but that's like a really big part at the beginning. is that he's like glaring at her like he absolutely hates her. And then like a couple days later, he's just like normal. And that's sort of the beginning of them talking to each other. She's like, "What is going on? Like, why do you hate me? And now you don't." And he's just sort of like trying to act cool. Like, he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, I just gave in to my feelings about the situation. I'm not going to try to fight it anymore." And she's just like, "Fight what? Like, what is happening?"
Yeah. Also keeps telling her, like, you shouldn't be friends with me because I'm a bad guy. And it's like, okay, that's also a huge, that's not a pink flag. That's a red flag. That's a, okay, thanks for telling me. It was nice meeting you. Have a great life. Goodbye. Okay,
See,
if
this, yeah.
someone
So,
if someone wants to woo you by saying, you know, I'm really a terrible person, it's like, wow, thanks for letting me know. Good luck with that. Hope you go to therapy.
it's like so funny because there's like an element of psychology to all of this. You know, like there's like a clickbait quality to all of it. Like you're like, well, why was he mad and now he's not? We're like, well,
Yeah.
what does he mean? And like it's almost like that's what we're banking on, is that your curiosity will be enough for you to keep talking to this person, right? It's not quite like a pickup artist negging thing, but it feels related.
I mean, isn't it though? He basically nagged her. He basically nagged her and it worked. Because, like, yeah, first he won't talk to her at all. And then he starts talking to her. And then, like, 2 days later, she's in love with him. This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
But it's also the thing is there's like so much to talk about with them because Bella's, isn't she sort of luring him in too? Because like Bella's constantly thinking about the fact that she's really boring and not that interesting and stuff. And I feel like she says stuff like that too, but like nobody cares. All these people still want to be friends with her. All these dudes keep falling in love with her anyway. Like, it's fascinating.
I mean, on the one hand, in high school, that's totally how it is when a new person comes to the school. Even if they're like weren't hot shit at their old school, it's all of a sudden like, oh my God, who's the new girl? Like everybody wants to learn about the new girl and be friends with the new girl. There's that aspect of it, which feels like a little bit true. Especially because it's such a small town and they probably, all these people just know each other and have known each other forever. So she's like the new, shiny new person. Yeah, you're right. Like, she keeps saying, like, I'm not that interesting. We're kind of going into Bella's personality right now. She talks about how she's not that interesting and everything. And because Edward can't read her mind, he thinks it's, like, so fascinating that he has to, like, ask her. And she has to tell him what she's thinking. Even though what she's thinking, he's always, like... He always responds as if it's, like, the most interesting thing in the whole world. Like, whoa, it's crazy that you, like... Linkin Park, but you also like Debussy and like you listen to classical music too. It's like, yeah, Claire de Lune is like the most basic bitch classical music there is. Okay, that's not like
okay. So
I'm gonna have to cut this out.
Pissing off groups of people we didn't think we would be. Okay. Though. So, here's the thing though. There's so much to talk about already. I'm going to go back to looks, and then we're going to come back to where we are. Looks-wise, when they describe them, I actually think it's a smart choice to not describe people's features too detailed, because that's something that I think is common in romance in general, where she's just like, oh, he had like a really strong jaw, or like he was just so attractive. And I think that does let you sort of fill in the details in your mind with just like what you find most attractive. Like, I remember reading this werewolf book series that I won't name, but I really didn't like it. And one of the reasons I didn't like it was I didn't like the main love interest. And I think it was because he was so specifically described, and it was just things that I personally don't find attractive because of people I went to high school with. So like, I think it's smart to keep it just vague enough. If I remember what it was like to read this book, I thought he was probably pale, like a you know, white Caucasian boy who was very pale, and then the reddish brownish hair. And then I just sort of imagined he was kind of emo looking, right? Like kind of slender, kind of wearing like billowy white shirts, kind of, like really like a more of a like artiste kind, like there's the piano playing and stuff.
Sure.
And then, the movies come out, so I'm sure for many people they imagine him as Robert Pattinson. I guess since I had a mind impression before that, Robert Pattinson is very, I think, pretty masculine and macho looking and leading man looking, more so than I imagined Edward to be. I thought he'd be kind of scrawnier or, which is not a bad thing to me. I like that kind of aesthetic,
Sure.
But everybody can imagine what they think he looks like.
I think it's like the more you read, the more clear his physical description is. But yeah, it is kind of vague. He's tall. He has reddish brown hair. He has light or dark eyes. He is kind of just a skinny dude who wears like button-up shirts.
And then about the personality stuff, what's interesting about this is it's like the opposite of True Blood, which I hope we get to do a True Blood episode later. But like Sookie can read minds, and she becomes fascinated with Bill because he's the first vampire she meets, and she can't read his mind. So it's interesting to see like that kind of archetype of like how a psychic wants to get away from other people's annoying thoughts. And it almost doesn't matter like who the first person is that they find. That's like the one that they have affection for.
And Dead Until Dark does predate Twilight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, nice. By like 5 years.
What I also wanted to say from what you said is like how like all the little things seem fascinating, but they really wouldn't be fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so what it's like to have a crush on somebody when you're like in middle school and high school. Because like you don't really know them at all yet. You just know what they're like at school. Yeah. And I feel like these little things, like if you see them like doodling with a pen, you're like, oh, like that's a thing they do. And you like start to become a little like fascinated by that, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you're like, oh, what song are you listening to, on your headphones? You're so interested in a person that these like little things start to stand out to you, and it doesn't even really matter what it is. You're just like collecting information about them, and then you want to covet that information and like put it all together to discover the full story behind a person.
Right. And in this relationship, you never get to the phase where you're like, oh, all those cute things that I thought were cute, I actually hate them now. Like Bella and Edward never have that.
Which is good because they're going to be stuck with each other for all eternity.
Yeah. There's no vampire divorce, apparently.
Oh, gosh. So he is kind of interested in her because he can't read her mind.
Yeah. Actually, can I say, I feel like I need to apologize to anyone who likes Claire de Lune. First of all, I also listened to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, you have like Moonlight Sonata and then you have like Claire de Lune. This is not like some special secret classical music that's like obscure in any way. That's all I'm saying. It's fine. It's a classic for a reason. It's very popular for a reason. It's very nice to listen to. I listen to it. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. But what you were trying to say is it's not like in this story, Edward has lived 100 years and he plays the piano, so he probably knows a lot about music. He probably knows a lot of composers and maybe even like some very rare compositions and arrangements and stuff.
Yeah, why would he be impressed that she listens to Claire de Lune? Like
he would maybe be impressed because I feel like I'm really reaching for this one.
Yeah.
It's like, because given her age, probably not a lot of people her age care about classical music at all. And he knows this is a gateway. He's like, oh, that's really interesting. But he also knows there's like 100 other things he'd want to recommend to her if she likes this one piece,
Yeah. Well, it's also hard to deal with because it's like, They move around and go to different places. They've never been to a high school that had an orchestra program. There are teenagers who know about classical music because they play it literally every day in high school orchestra or band.
I totally get what you were saying, though. It's like it feels like the writer did not do like deep research into this. She thought of the first thing that she thought of. It was like that'll be good enough, you know. for
Yeah.
this.
And I mean, that's fine. We're not picking it apart. It's fine. But why does Edward find Bella so fascinating? It's just the fact that he can't just reach into her brain and just like pull the information out. She has to actually say it. But is it really that much more interesting than anyone else?
We want to talk about this series because of almost like the chemistry and the psychology behind it. And it's like you can logically say, I don't get it. I don't get why he's interested in her. She doesn't seem that interesting. But then there's like some like lizard brain feeling as you're reading it that reminds you of what it's like when you're talking to a crush at that time period in your life. Or if you are that age right now, it's like that feeling, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like the feeling of like the first time anybody around your age talked to you and was like interested in you.
Yeah.
It's like a addiction. Like it's like a hit of adrenaline. Like it gets your heart pumping.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking before about how he's kind of like negging her. He's trying to get her interested in him. But like this is another data point on him. And this is a very positive one that he's just interested in listening to her. Like he's interested in whatever she's interested in. He wants to know more
Right.
about her. That's a really good thing in a relationship. And it would certainly make me more interested in someone, right?
Yeah.
If they want to actually know about me. Because most people are just sort of preoccupied with themselves, right? So
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings on this about like, is Twilight dangerous to teenage girls? Because I historically was like, well, you know, it can't be just on books to teach people what healthy relationships are. You know, like you need modeling in real life, and one book isn't going to make the difference between if you're going to end up in an abusive relationship or not. I have changed how I felt about it a little bit since. And I think part of the reason that you could say it's a bad example is because yes, he is genuinely interested in her, but he also like is super controlling. So it's like that can't be the only positive thing about the relationship. Is like, oh, it's the first person that actually
Yeah.
listened to you. That's not enough. You know, because there's also an instance where he literally like grabs her by the backpack or the back of her jacket or whatever and drags her to his car.
yes.
That
yeah.
feels pretty scary. In the book, it's just played as like, well, that's just how he is. He's just controlling. Like he can't help
Yeah.
himself. He wants to kill me. He's doing the best he can. And that's never addressed. Like he never has to change.
Yeah.
When we read these like alpha hole romances where it's like this big alpha guy, like what makes them so satisfying, like in Immortals After Dark, is that they get broken down and like pulverized down into a
Yeah.
dust and then turned into a paste and remolded back into someone that is actually deserving of love. Edward doesn't have to change shit. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
do anything, you know?
If you haven't read romance novels in a while, or maybe you never did, modern romance novels are really good at consent, at explaining where everyone's coming from, and at making people accountable for their behavior, like Liz is saying. And I think we've just kind of grown as a community and as a culture in that way. The more toxic things that Edward does, if that was to happen in a book now, it would almost be like overly clear in the writing that it's almost done as I want to say like in a performative way. Like it's done because she allows it to happen, not because it's his personality to do it, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. It's very difficult. I mean, I don't read a lot of young adult now, so I don't know if the landscape has changed. Like, it's kind of hard for me to imagine Twilight coming out today.
I feel like the newer young adults that I've read with romance in them, they don't usually show controlling behavior like what you're talking about. I think the biggest difference is like maybe in two parts. One is like the consent part and one is the comeuppance. So the consent part would be like, that's what I was trying to say, but probably didn't say it well, is like usually there's some kind of safe word or there's some kind of like, okay, you can act like this with me in public, but it's because I know I've already let you know I like this. Like it's like part of our relationship and our flirtiness. Not that it's like coming as a surprise. Like there are people out there who like to be physically picked up and carried and whisked around, but it would be done in a way that's like everybody knows that this is okay with the person being picked up, you know?
And that's why it feels icky in this book, because first of all, we only ever get Bella's POV. And she, in her head, is, I'm going to my car. Like, I'm not doing this. And then Edward just, like, doesn't let her do the thing that she in her head was going to do. She just kind of, like, goes along with it. It's never addressed that what he did wasn't okay. And that doesn't change.
Yeah, and you know, there's almost nothing I like better than seeing an alpha male become pathetic because they try to do something like this and then they're something bad happens to them as a result, and you're just like, yeah, you completely deserved that one.
For people who don't read romance books, I don't think they understand that, especially not the contemporary genre, but like contemporary as in like today. An alpha romance, the really popular ones right now, is they're an asshole, but then they do get like what's coming to them and have to completely break down and change their entire life and like remold themselves around the woman that they love or person that they love.
Yeah.
I don't think that people who don't know romance genre understand that's what feels so cathartic about that. The heroine doesn't even have to change them. It's not like the heroine got into the relationship being like, I can fix him. No, he's going to fix himself after he realizes how much he fucked up. And that is magical.
But now that you're saying this, I feel like what I heard people complain about the most was the controlling behavior. And the kind of lack of agency, how she would just be like told to do something or taken someplace by both Edward and Jacob. And then I feel like the other thing, people had a really hard time with him sneaking into her room and watching her sleep. That was such a big thing. Everybody always talks about that. I'm going to talk about this more when we go to the end of this episode, because I want to talk about a couple other books that have very similar vibes to this. But I do think the difference there is that because she didn't know at first, and what they're trying to get at, again, I'm reaching really hard for these, is the feel good part of it is like that feeling of like sneaking someone into your room and your parents don't know, and it's like secret time that you spend together, and like it's very thrilling when you're still a high school student, right? So that's what the feeling is supposed to be. It's just that it gets a little complicated because as a reader, if you're looking at this and you're not thinking about it like, I'm so swept away from Bella and Edward's point of view, yeah, that's weird. Like, it's not okay, you know? So I can't even speak about this series. It's like so complicated. I think that's the same issue, and it recurs over and over again, is if you view this logically and you view this as like an adult who's watching a 18-year-old character go through these motions, you would be concerned. If this was happening in real life and there was a real teenage girl that you knew that this was happening to, you would be concerned. And that's different from the book world in which Bella, being a teenage girl in love and knowing that some sad things are going to happen and dramatic things will happen in this story, but ultimately what Bella wants the most is to be with Edward. She's pretty strongly, you put purposeful in our notes, like she knows what she wants and she does not deviate from that at all. As far as like character arc goes, I feel like that's another thing that comes up a lot is people are like, what is Bella's like arc? What is the thing she's trying to solve? She doesn't really have that as much because she's never wavered from what she wants. She didn't have to
Yeah.
like really question it the way that a lot of other characters that go through big emotional arcs do.
Yeah. No, that's true. I don't feel like they do, Bella or Edward, have like really big shifts or character changes. Well, we're talking about Bella. Like, Bella, she is driven by one thing, and it's her obsession with Edward from very early on in the book. I mean, that's one of the things that people criticize the book for, is that Bella is boring or doesn't have a personality. Whether or not that was purposeful in a craft way, one of the things that makes this book so popular, I think, is because, you know, it kind of goes into what we were saying about like, oh, she likes Claire de Lune or whatever. That's a pretty common thing that anybody could do that. They could look up that song and be like, oh, I like this too. There's not a lot to not like about it. It's a very enjoyable song, right? Like, she listens to this rock music. It's like, yeah, a lot of teens that age listen to rock music. You can kind of put yourself in her shoes. That's the reason why the Mary Sue trope is so popular and also powerful, because anybody can put themselves in the character's shoes and enjoy the wish fulfillment of what that character is experiencing.
Yeah, and the blankness of the character is actually something used in a lot of dating sim games. Sometimes the character won't even have like a face, really. Like when you see the romance images, their face is blurred, or like you only see the back of their hair, and it's always focused on the character that you're dating because they want you to feel like you can insert yourself into this character and that the love interest is talking directly to you. And you even see this in like some Japanese RPGs where like the main character won't say anything. They'll have kind of a mysterious look to them, but you, or as the player, get to choose what they say and all the dialogue options. So you get to really guide the personality and the relationships. So having that like wish fulfillment and that self-insert character, I don't think it has to be a bad thing in a story. I guess I don't want to go too down the Mary Sue rabbit hole, but it's pretty fascinating because it basically comes from the fan fiction trend of like you're writing a fanfic and you've introduced a new character who happens to be an awful lot like you. and some character from the story will fall in love with them, right? I feel like then there was like a lot of backlash to that, like let the Mary Sues live. And I think that's pretty healthy as well. I don't even know if anyone really knows what a Mary Sue is anymore because I feel like it's been so overused now in some critiques.
Yeah.
Bella's like, she is a self-insertion wish fulfillment character. It's not like she has like 25 things going on, which I think is another common Mary Sue thing. It's like they can juggle and throw knives, and they're also amazing on the guitar. They're also,
right.
You know, she actually has like very little going on, but also happens to be one of the most powerful characters in this whole world, which is kind of funny.
She does have very little going on, but the further you go along, the more extraordinary she actually is, right? Which I feel like also plays into that whole thing. Like, she's totally normal, except for that she's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's why I feel like there's so much that's fascinating about this series, though, is that she's just so determined to love Edward no matter what, that like she fights for the ability to become a vampire, and then once she gets it, she just like, it's almost like her tenaciousness leans into her power, which is this power that like negates other vampire powers. Like, it couldn't get more powerful than that. That's like the number one thing you would want on your side.
Yeah. Although even when she gets turned, though, that's also extraordinary because she has like a really traumatic turning. She basically dies, and they're able to like just barely bring her back to life. And then she wakes up and is like, fine, I can be around humans, which is like not
it's not normal at all. And I also, the whole baby thing, of course.
Oh my God. I don't even think that's on our notes to talk about.
We are talking that much about the baby. This will be my version of your chat room experience.
Okay.
I remember reading an essay online about why Twilight is actually like a reversal of what everyone thinks, and that it's really a story about two powerful monster men fighting over her and bending to her every whim. And if
Yeah.
anybody has a copy of that, it was on the Something Awful forums. And the person that wrote it, I want to say he had like a Colonel Sanders icon or like another like older gentleman icon, like maybe the guy from Jurassic Park. But he would
Okay.
do these essays all the time for different things. And it was also sort of mysterious. Like he would just show up and write like 7 paragraphs about a topic and leave, you know? And I would love to read that again because at that time I didn't ever think like, oh, I'll never be able to find this again. I better save it
Right.
somewhere, right? But it was a really compelling argument that really got me thinking. Now, whether that is the intention of the author or not, I mean, I'm sure we can assume that maybe if she did intend that, it was very like subconscious, right?
Yeah.
It is really interesting to think about because, especially with what you're saying about some of the controlling behavior and some of the times that the men like basically force themselves on her in Jacob's
Yeah.
case, right? In the end, she does make Edward give her exactly what she wants out of life, you know? I think there's a part where they fight about being married, right? Because she didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
So maybe that part was they had to compromise on that. But you know, she did want to consummate the marriage before she was a vampire.
Yeah.
And she did want to be a vampire.
Yep.
And she did want Jacob in her life, but she didn't want to date Jacob.
Yep.
So, you know, it's a happy ending for Bella all around by the end. She got everything, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. I mean, but like we said, she wants so little. She expresses an opinion on something so little in the book,
yeah.
except for when she really like expresses her opinion is when she is going to defy what she was told and what's in her best interest to sacrifice herself for everyone else. That to me, reading it as an adult, felt like a bigger problematic thing to me. I don't know if this is like a patriarchy thing or coming from other, like, you know, the author's background or whatever. But yeah, Bella, when she puts her foot down, is like, I'm going to do this or I'm going to not do what I was told, it's because she's going to go get herself hurt or killed in service of everyone else. And that seems pretty awful to me. Like, she has no wants or desires or personality, or like not a strong personality, until she's like, no, actually, I'm going to go get myself killed.
The only thing I can think of is that, again, it's about the drama and the intensity. It's again, I think it comes down to if you're reading this as a preteen or a teenager, you want to
Yeah.
hear stakes like that. You want to hear that
Yeah.
everything's life and death and being a vampire or dating a vampire that wants to kill you because he wants to drink your blood. That's really exciting to read about. I don't think it necessarily means that every teenager is thinking about that. But I definitely think that when you're a preteen and a teenager, you're learning a lot about life and death and reading things like this.
Yeah.
I read a lot of young adult books that were about suicide and were about like really dark topics like depression
Yeah.
and things.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like 13 Reasons Why, which now is like a really famous Netflix show, but the
Yeah.
book was so good. And that didn't necessarily mean I was having those thoughts myself, but I think it helped me understand like something that could potentially happen in life. I think it's good to like be exposed to both like real life things and fantasy things like a Bella relationship with a vampire where everything's life or death. It's all something that you kind of learn from and when you expose yourself to it. So I'm not making excuses for anything. I have a very academic standpoint with this. Like everything, I just want to understand, why does it work though? Like,
Yeah.
why does it feel so different depending on who you are when you approach this series?
Yeah, definitely. Because I had way different feelings on it now than I did when I read it originally, and I was so into it.
Well, it feels like we're ready to talk about relationship material.
Think your relationship material.
We have a lot in here to discuss. All right, just rapid fire answers, okay? Is Edward relationship material?
No.
Is Bella relationship material?
I guess. I mean, I read all these books. I still feel like I don't know that much about Bella. Like, what does she like or do?
She likes her
I don't know.
truck.
Is she me? If she's me, then yeah, I guess.
Okay, is Jacob relationship material?
No. Oh, sorry. Sorry to any people who like really into Jacob, but it really killed me the fact that he forces himself on Bella and then no one does anything.
That's one of the hardest things for anyone to get by now, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like still people who are fresh to the series, they can't get past that. It's just too much.
In the book, it was way worse than I thought. I feel like the movie is like pretty accurate, I guess, to the book in what happens, but like he like forces himself on her and like makes her kiss him. And then her dad is like, well, good for him. And Edward's like, well, whatever. Like, I know that you want to be with me, so I'm not gonna even like be mad about it. Like, whatever. Good for him trying.
Edward is so passive, like hilariously passive about Jacob.
Just in that moment, though, he's like, he hates him in every other way. Like, it's not safe for you to be around him, blah, blah, blah. But then he literally forces himself on her. And I think she breaks her hand trying to punch him. Nobody does anything. They're all just like, oh, well, good for him for trying. You know, you can't blame him for trying. Boys will be boys. Ugh.
And we cannot go too deep down that rabbit hole.
No.
But
No.
the fact that he kisses her in part because his fated mate is an egg that's in her ovary.
Stop it.
There's so many philosophical questions.
I can't.
It's very, very upsetting.
No. Okay, by that logic though, wouldn't he like Edward too? Because only half of his future mate is inside Bella. He needs the other half.
No, don't make me say it live on a podcast, Liz. It's because the other half doesn't exist yet until the wedding night.
Oh my god. Ooh, okay.
Oh, this is awful. All right.
We're gonna stop here.
Okay, relationship material. I mean, I would probably just, if it was for me, I'd probably say no to all three as well. If I was like a character in a fictional universe, well, maybe this is just me. It like Stardew Valley, right? I'm like, I'll date everybody till I eventually marry Sebastian because he's the game developer that likes coffee and has emo hair. Like, I would probably be like, well, I'd give it a chance. I'd probably be a little bit more into Jacob than Edward. I just have more of a werewolf thing. The thing you talk about, I just block that out when I think about this series. Like,
sure. You have to.
It's just, you can't defend something like that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you can't defend a lot of what Edward does either. My initial instinct is just no. I don't want to date anyone in these books. Well, I don't want to date Edward or Jacob or Bella. But there are still parts of Twilight, especially the first book, that, like I said, are in me, like, as a person. Like, Edward's very tall, brown hair, is a vampire. I love vampires. Okay, there's a lot going on in here that when rereading it, was like, yeah, that's why I'm like this.
I understand that completely.
I can't deny that.
So one of our favorite podcasts is Bonkers Romance, and it's extremely adult, so don't listen with children anywhere near you. It's freaking hilarious. And they talk about extreme romance, like monster romance, or just ones that have really interesting plots. And
yeah, they do we don't do recaps. We will allude to things, but they are very explicit and very not safe for work. They have an earlier episode in their podcast history that they called The Tightrope that I would recommend listening to because they say this better than I'm going to be able to like reference them saying it. but they were basically saying that it's okay to like things, putting the fact that it's a young adult book aside. It's okay to like things where the love interest is problematic. You know, like mafia romance genre is like deeply problematic. There's usually kidnappings involved and murdering people and, you know, monster romances where people aren't human and all this stuff. It's okay to read books on that because it's one way of exploring things and finding what your limits are and figuring out like what do you like and where does that come from, and ask yourself questions and all these things without putting yourself in danger, without destroying your relationship. You can just pick up a book and be like, what if I did have an extremely hot, controlling love interest? And just be like, yep, that's a fantasy that I can read about and then walk away from safely without endangering my life or my livelihood. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, I think that's the ongoing conversation with all of these things that we talk about, is like, just because you like a fictional character doesn't mean you would like that in real life. And it's also okay if you're reading about things just because you're curious, or maybe you find it funny. It's okay to find things funny too,
Yeah.
or enjoyable in a like thrill ride kind of sense. It doesn't mean you necessarily believe in the romance or believe in the relationship. It's okay to read things that you're not sure if you're gonna like, because it teaches you things about yourself.
Yeah. The issue about it being a young adult book and that there's no consequences to Edward and Jacob's worst behavior for these adult romance books, when you pick up a genre that's like an extreme genre, you're kind of like entering into an agreement, right? There's this concept in storytelling and like theater called the magic circle. For this to work, everybody has to come into the magic circle and we have to agree that we're going to buy into this and we're going to pretend like it's real and we're going to accept that this works and we're not going to try to like break it or reason through it or whatever. We're just going to like live through the thing and have the experience and then be done with it. The author and the readers are entering into this agreement that we're going to pretend like it's okay that he punches a car until his fist gets bloody. And that's a little bit hot for some reason. We're not going to think too much about it because it's not real. But when you're talking about a young adult book and there are no consequences, there is no the alpha hero has to like completely change their life around. There's none of that reconciliation. That's where it feels like you get a little eked out. Oh, that seems scary to just like have that out there when you're talking about a young adult book where maybe we haven't decided as, you know, a teen that we're entering into a magic circle, that we might just accept this as being okay, especially if you see it over and over again. Like at the time we had Twilight, we had Buffy has a very similar thing where like Angel watches her sleeping or goes into her room or whatever.
And we will get to Buffy.
Oh, we will get to Buffy. But this was all around the same time, right? Like Buffy reruns are on TV, Twilight's coming out. There's a lot of examples of, look, if you want a really intense a relationship where someone really loves you, then this is the behavior that they have. And it's like, well, no, not really.
So the magic circle in games is the agreement that everyone playing the game is going to play by the rules of the game. So it's exactly the same meaning, but I just got really excited because I didn't know that it was also a thing in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying about young adult, like, I mean, I'm not a young adult expert. I wish I was, but I think it's really hard because a lot of young adult books do deal with really dark stuff, like 13 Reasons Why, Gossip Girl. I don't think there were consequences necessarily. It was like a tabloid magazine almost, right?
Yeah.
Like those kids are having sex, they're drinking, they're doing drugs, true. They're all 16-ish, you know, they're rich as heck, they don't care about anything. But like, I don't think people thought like, oh, Gossip Girl has to be held to like some standard of like teaching kids about good relationships. It was like, not like comfort food, but just like almost like just quick to consume, you know, scandalous content, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if there's, because I mean, they're both really unrealistic.
Yeah. What's a different kind of wish fulfillment, right?
I don't know why the criticism is specifically for Twilight and not for Gossip Girl.
You know, I mean, anything that gets big enough gets that kind of treatment, right? When Gossip Girl got really big, it was because of the TV show. And they're all older actors in the TV show, even though we're supposed to know they're in high school. Nobody looks like they're in high school. So it's hard to tell. Like everybody growing up is going to be different. I was even thinking about, I'm a big Stephen King fan and I listen to a few different Stephen King podcasts, and almost always people say they started reading him in middle school. I don't know if that's just because he was super popular around the time that many of us were in middle school, like this generation, but his books are definitely not for us. And I remember I was reading horror like that when I was a teenager, and like definitely really bad relationships in a lot of his books.
Right. And you don't see people coming at Stephen King being like, he should be have better role models for kids in his books.
Yeah.
Although it isn't a young adult genre. Like Twilight is specifically a young adult book.
Yeah. And then they tried to do the new adult, right? Which is like the slightly older, which I actually like that genre, like college age kids doing stuff, but now they're just stuck because it doesn't fit in young adult, or it's not quite adult.
You know what? That was supposed to kind of be launched with ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I keep seeing on Book Talk and Bookstagram people talking about new adult books. Basically, the readers are like self-selecting themselves. And being like, this is a genre. They will describe books that way, or indie authors will describe their books that way. So I almost feel like by readers' demand, this genre is going to get made into a thing.
I hope so, because it is a little weird.
ACOTAR should not be labeled a young adult book. You can't. Oh, no. It is so explicit. It is so explicit. You can't do that. I don't know. It should be something different. There should be something else for that genre. Anyway.
So one of our favorite podcasts is the Fated Mates podcast. And Jen from Fated Mates said once that love triangles in a young adult book series are really a choice between different lifestyles and not the love interests themselves. And that has stuck with me ever since, because it makes so much sense. If you think about any book with a love triangle in it, you can clearly see what will happen in the heroine's life based on like who she chooses to love. It's also interesting because in this book, it's like kind of a love triangle, but not really, because she, as we've talked about,
it's a love tangent.
As we've talked about extensively, like she's not interested in Jacob or that dude from her high school that asked her out. Those represent other choices, and she's never been interested in them.
I was actually no, I'm not going to go into it. I'll tell you another time because I can't. It's a total tangent off of this. It doesn't have anything to do with Twilight. Okay.
Are you sure? Just go for it. How long could it take?
Well, I was talking to my husband about the love triangle thing and that quote because it's such a brilliant concept that they say on the podcast. And I was telling my husband about it, and he was like, yeah, in books that I've read, I feel like if there's a love triangle, it's usually that the woman he's interested in, isn't interested in him and possibly someone else. And it isn't about him choosing her or another woman. It's about proving to her that he's the right choice, and like proving that the other guy is the wrong choice. And I thought that was really interesting. And then we were also trying to think about any stories we could think of where that wasn't true. And the most notable one that we could think of was The Witcher.
Hey, producer Liz here. Skip ahead to 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 36 seconds to skip the slight Witcher spoilers.
Because Geralt chooses between Triss and Yennefer. That is more like the love triangle that we're talking about, because that's Geralt choosing between I don't know if I have to say it's spoilers. I guess if you're in the middle of playing or reading the books and you want to skip ahead, you can. I'll try to remember to put a time code here. But like, that's Geralt choosing between Triss and Yennefer. And like, Triss is the less complicated one. Triss is the, I just want to have a nice life with this hot lady. And Yennefer is the epic, complicated, fated one, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
that is
totally.
like Geralt is choosing between those two things, and then obviously chooses Yennefer, who most people consider to be like the canon choice in the games and the books.
It's hard because a lot of the love triangles I like are sort of not typical as well. Like I keep thinking about the Hunger Games, but I think that one's also notable for not really being a love triangle. In that Katniss always seems like we have more important things to worry about than
Yeah.
who is in love with me and who I am in love with. But it definitely feels like the life of being with Gale and kind of like keeping a low profile. And then there's the life she's brought into with Peeta of like competing and doing this whole horrible thing that leads to revolution.
Yeah. And I am talking about this in like a very typical sense, I guess, in the genre where we're talking about like a man and a woman. But I do think it says something about our patriarchal society that when there's a man involved in a love triangle, he's not choosing to change his life. He's just choosing to tell her to make the quote unquote right choice. Whereas like when the woman is in a love triangle, she's choosing to change her life drastically in one of two ways.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite is when you don't have to choose and you change your life the least in some ways, and instead of having to choose, you just get both. And you turn a love triangle into a throuple. And that just seems like the best possible option.
Because they also like each other.
Well, they both like her, so they already have something in common.
It's cute. Foreshadowing for future episodes. Okay, are we ready for game time?
Try to ignore me, play your game.
Okay, so game time is where we have made little play-along games for each other, and you listening at home are welcome to play along as well.
So my game I called Guess Who Vampire Edition. So vampires and vampire lore has existed for millennia, and stories about them can be found across a lot of cultures through history. Most of what we're familiar with comes from Southeastern Europe. This is mostly just like Wikipedia researching, so if this is a culture that you belong to and I have summarized it incorrectly, I'm sorry. Please feel free to send corrections. I picked 3 vampires that are a little different, 3 cultures with vampire lore that's a little different than your typical vampire lore.
Ooh.
And I'm going to give you some facts. I'm going to give them to you like out of order, and you're going to be able to make a guess about which ones go together. And I'm going to give you 3 creations, 3 behaviors, and 3 weaknesses, and you're going to match them up to the ones that go together. So your 3 creations are a mating between a human and a vampire is creation 1. Creation 2 is being dragged to the grave of this vampire-like creature. Creation 3 is living a sacrilegious way of life. Those are your 3 creations. You need to match those up to these 3 behaviors. Behavior 1, poltergeist-style activity, and arithmomania, which is the compulsion to count things.
All right.
Practicing sorcery and vampire hunting is behavior 2. Behavior 3 is protecting their burial place. And then you need to match those to these 3 weaknesses. Weakness 1, blessed bread, crosses, iron nails to the heart. Weakness 2, stake to the heart, pinning them to their grave. Weakness 3, soft bodies, no fingernails, are slippery.
Oh. Okay. Slippery. So I'm like figuring out which ones go with each other, right?
Yeah.
So mating between a human and a vampire. The counting one really threw me off. I'm like, who's got the time? But I guess if you're eternal, You can count numbers till the end of the world. Okay, so I'm gonna guess that all the ones about graves maybe go together. So you're being dragged to a grave, and that's how you're made into a vampire. And then you want to protect your grave because other people are trying to get there to become vampires. And then you could also be killed by being pinned to your grave. So I feel like there's like these people are very grave heavy. That's my guess. And then I guess I should just do the other two and then you'll tell me what's going on. I feel like the sacrilegious life probably goes with practicing sorcery and vampire hunting. Now you've got to go take down all the other people who became vampires because they were also sacrilegious. Sounds kind of like a Highlander situation to me where they all have to fight each other so that we get rid of them. And then I'm guessing because it's sacrilegious, it's going to be the blessed bread and the crosses. That means that if humans and vampires mate, they get like really into throwing shit around and counting. And they're also like, they have no fingernails left because I guess all the counting, it takes a toll. They're like scratching on the walls and stuff.
Okay, I'm really impressed because you got everything right except you swapped the behavior. So the sacrilegious way of life goes with the arithmomania and the blessed bread and crosses. And then the mating between a human and vampire and the vampire hunting go together. So you got everything else right. I'll do like a summary.
Yeah, we got to know about these soft bodies. That's
Okay, so the first one is called Frikolakas, is from ancient Greece, and it comes from a Slavic word for werewolf, actually, which is interesting, but it's more similar to what we think of as vampires. They would have these superstitions about things starting to happen or being worried that somebody might come back, so they would go as far as to exhume dead bodies, put them in a different box, and put like special wine over them and say prayers and scripture. And then they would look at the body, and if it wasn't decayed enough, they'd be like, that's a vampire. And then they would do something extra to like make sure it was dead. The ways that you could become this type of vampire from ancient Greece is living a sacrilegious way of life. It could also include dying alone, committing a great crime, eating meat from a sheep killed by a wolf or werewolf, being cursed, having a cat jump across one's grave, desecrating a religious day. And another way that you could become this ancient Greek vampire is they would go to houses and knock on the door of people that they knew before they got changed. And they would call out to the person. And if you didn't answer on the first knock, you were safe. But if you opened the door, then you might become a vampire.
So instead of that, like, Jeff Foxworthy, like, you might be a redneck, it's like a whole stand-up routine that's just like, you might be a vampire. It's just all these weird...
Yeah, you might be a vampire if you answered the door after the first knock.
If a cat has ever jumped across your grave, you might be a vampire.
On the Wikipedia article for this, the Kolakas, they literally had the phrase poltergeist style activity. So I had to put that in there because that is hilarious.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, belief in this type of vampire superstition was still fairly common up until after World War II in Greece, probably because of how many people were dying around that time. And one of the ways that they would keep people from becoming vampires, or at least keep the vampires from spreading, just put grain or seeds on the ground so that if the vampire did get up because it was obsessed with counting things, it would have to count all the grain that was on the ground instead of going and like murdering people, I guess. Nice. So that's where the arithmomania comes in. So that's the Frikolakas.
Classic. Just a real quick note about the werewolf thing is like, if you go back far enough, then yeah, werewolves and vampires are the same. Yeah. Because it in like Dracula became a wolf, right? Like it was just he was always associated with wolves and bats and things. So yeah, we're just all afraid of the same things, but now we've got more nuanced tastes. So
yeah. Okay, something to note is that, vampires being obsessed with counting things. Could you think of a famous vampire that does very notably count things, Miko?
Oh my gosh. It's the Count from
Yes!
Sesame Street.
Yes!
Is that why?
I don't know. The Arithmomania entry on Wikipedia is very short, but there's a folklore section, and it says European folklore concerning vampires often depicts them with arithmomania, such a compulsion to count seeds or grains of millet. Count Von Count, a vampire character on Sesame Street, is known for counting everything and anything.
That's funny.
Okay, so the second one I think you're going to be really excited about. The second one is from Albania, and it's called Dampier.
Dampiers. Just like our favorite movie.
Yeah, just like Vampire Academy. Something to note, the Strigoi and Moroi come from Romania. Those two words. Anyway, so Dampier, which if you pronounce it with the Albanian accent, I think it actually is just like vampire.
That makes sense, yeah. Are you going to lightly summarize Vampire Academy, or is that too much of an ask?
Vampire Academy is a adaptation of the Vampire Academy books that is unbelievably wild, because with most adaptations, they cut down to be a movie-length movie with like generally average pacing. For this adaptation, they didn't cut anything out. And there's basically 5 movies in the span of one movie. It is like a virus, because once you see it, you will watch it again, and you will tell other people to watch it with you, just like we're telling you to watch it. We hope that the Vampire Academy bug spreads, because I'm obsessed. It's going to be off of Netflix by the time this episode comes out, and I did buy the Blu-ray, and I will watch it again.
We have high hopes to run a live Vampire Academy showing in the future, so that might be a special Hot Baddies Club event. I was the one that started this round of the virus, because I had always kind of wanted to watch it, and then I watched it over Christmas, and then I was like, I have a lot to say and no one to talk to. So I've been trying to get as many people as possible to watch this movie.
I think I've seen it 4 times now, and it's been only 6 months since I saw it the first time, so...
I think I've seen it 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to explain. There is a new Vampire Academy series coming out, but it looks like it's going to be really good. It'll be very serious, though, looking, versus the movie is like a lot more campy.
Is incredibly campy, but it's so fun. Get a group together and watch it, and like have a drink or be ready to laugh. It's a really fun movie. Anyway, we're talking about that because in the Vampire Academy movie, they have 3 different types of vampires. There's the Dampier, the Moroi, and the Strigoi. And I came across all those words while we were doing this. But anyway, Dampier, which is actually pronounced vampire, and that's if it's a male vampire. If it's a female vampire, it would be Vampirica, also spelled with the DH at the beginning. Supposedly, male vampires were really horny and would go back and try to get with their previous wives that they had before they were vampires. And if she got pregnant, the child would be a vampire.
That makes sense, because they were supposed to be half vampires in the lore of Vampire Academy.
So their creation would be the mating between a vampire and a human. They specifically talked about male vampire, female human, which related to Twilight. They were basically regular people by a lot of folklore accounts, but some of them could practice sorcery and see invisible vampires. So naturally, they would be great vampire hunters. So that was kind of like their job that they would pass down their family line to be vampire hunters with their special vampire powers. But in other accounts, they were very dirty, might have no nails or bones, or have a tail or big ears or teeth or eyes. Big ears, big teeth, or big eyes. And even in some accounts, they were very slippery because they had no bones and they didn't live very long. That's that one.
That sounds much less sexy than everything else you were saying.
Yeah.
When you wrote mating between human and vampire, I didn't I did not fully understand you meant like the baby would be one.
Oh.
I was like, oh, because the vampire had sex with me, I'm now a vampire. Whoops.
Oops. Okay, the last one is from Iceland. Okay, so Icelandic is very hard, but I'll give it one try. So I think it's Druj, spelled Draugur, which would be singular, and then the plural would be Drujva or something like that. I'm not going to try again. I'm sorry that I'm butchering Icelandic. So the literal translation of that word is ghost. The stories of this ghost, this Icelandic ghost, is a lot closer to vampires. So there's two different kinds. They have the guardian kind, and then they have this other kind, Kibera Druva, which would be more like attack vampires. So like the guardians are the ones I described, where it's like they might haunt where they were from or where they died or their home. They protect their treasure and their burial place from thieves and trespassers, kind of like a dragon. And maybe they're vampires because they're greedy and couldn't leave their stuff behind. Then the other kind, they harass the living, drive them mad, and potentially even kill them. And they might drag you back to their grave, and that would turn you into a vampire also. So you can also stake them through the heart and pin them to their own grave.
Yeah, these graves are dangerous.
Yep, that's all I learned about folklore about vampires.
Okay, so my game is about Forks, Washington. I don't have a funny name for it. It's just like tourism information about Forks and why you should visit. So yeah, I went on vacation to Forks, Washington. Not for Twilight. We went because there's some really beautiful beaches there. But of course, I mean, while I'm there, we're going to check out all the Twilight information, right? I have 4 questions for you and then like a bonus, but I think you're going to know the bonus one right away. So we'll see.
Okay.
Do you know anything about the real Forks town?
Maybe a little bit just from Twilight stuff, but not like a bunch.
Okay, so it is a real town in Washington State. It's next to a very large national park area. The reason why she set it there, I believe, is because there's not a lot of sun, theoretically, because there's all these trees and it's densely foliaged. Also because of the local tribe. So this is a tourist attraction area, even though it's a small town. Because of Twilight, they actually even have an annual festival. But in addition to the Twilight tourist attractions, there are some other attractions in the area that are worth checking out. So I'm going to post to you the names of several local museum attractions, and you're going to tell me which one is not real. So A is the Forever Twilight in Forks collection. B is Black Wolf Haven. C is the Forks Timber Museum. D is John's Beachcombing Museum. And E is Big Log Boy, boy spelled with an I.
So only one of these is not real.
Only one of these is not a real local museum.
I feel really like you're trying to trick me because Big Log Boy doesn't seem like it could be right. Or Big Log Boy, sorry. But it also seems so obvious that that can't be it. So now I'm bouncing off of it and thinking maybe it's the Timber Museum or the Beachcombing Museum. My heart is telling me that D is John's Beachcombing Museum is not real.
Okay, final answer?
That's my final answer.
Okay, it is real. John's Beachcombing Museum. Sadly, we did not get to see in person, but I do have a picture for you. John apparently just collects a ton of stuff that washes up on the beach. And he makes sculptures out of stuff. So they make art out of all the beach trash. The fake one was the Black Wolf Haven. There is a White Wolf Haven nearby, not in Forks. It's like in the same state. Of course, the Forever Twilight in Forks collection is the official free Twilight museum that you can visit. We did end up going there.
I feel like you're really burying the lead here because you know I need to know about Big Log Boy.
I am. I am. You're right,
Okay.
but we're gonna do Timber Museum
Okay.
first, and then we're gonna
All
do
right.
Big Log Boy. The Forks Timber Museum is located right next to the visitor center, and we did go to this. It was super fun. It's just like a local history museum about the logging industry in the area and like what their life was like there. Big Log Boy, I don't know what's going on with this. It is listed on Google Maps as a museum, okay? But clearly there's a backstory. I mean, it is just a giant log on the beach, and it has 18 reviews.
It's temporarily closed.
It's temporarily closed. I don't know if that means the log's not there anymore, but I also screenshotted some of the Google reviews for you, such as it's giving Edward as a tree. La push, push, push.
You missed the first line, which was thick.
Thick.
With 2
Yeah.
C's. Oh, and you also failed to mention that the review was by someone named Fat Cheese.
And then there's somebody who says, Log Boy was the single greatest thing to ever happen in my life. I was stumped in life. Growing into a new phase, my wife was leafing me, and I would do anything to forget about the years I had spent adrift. And there's even more to this that I didn't get in the screenshot. And then finally, Clark has to say, absolutely 5 stars. Well done. He thick.
He thick.
He thick. So I don't know what's going on with this tree, Log Boy, but clearly it means something to some people that it's there.
Thank you for bringing Big Log Boy into my life.
Next time I go, I'm going to look for Big Log Boy. Okay, next question. In the Forks Chamber of Commerce building, which is essentially their visitor center, there are cardboard cutouts of many characters from Twilight that you can take a picture with. Now, I figured you would guess that you can take a picture with the main trio, but who's the 4th character from Twilight that's important enough to get a cardboard cutout?
My first instinct was Alice because everyone likes Alice. My second instinct was Charlie because everyone also really likes Charlie.
Yes.
Is it Charlie? Charlie is my final answer, I think.
Charlie's your final answer?
Yeah. Who is
It's
it?
Alice.
Oh, okay. I was
You were
really close.
so close. This is what the building looks like. You go in, and just like any visitor center, you get a whole bunch of there's little paraphernalia and stuff. You probably also knew this, but outside they have both of Bella's trucks, the movie version and the book version. And they just have like a whole bunch of little toys and things in there for you to buy. And it's just like it's where you go when you first get there. You could get your local Forks postcards, and you can look at some cute dolls of Bella and Edward. Notice how they put Bella and Edward on one side under vampires love Forks, and then on the other side it says werewolves love La Push. It's just Jacob by himself. That was a choice that was made, Okay, my next question. While I was doing my research, I learned about a unique camp located in Forks that has a vaguely Twilight activity associated with it. So which of these 4 camps is a real camp that you can go to? So the 4 options are diving camp, cycle camp, chess camp, and baseball camp.
Okay, so the 2 that are jumping out to me are diving camp because of the cliff diving and baseball camp because of the famous baseball scene. I'm going to go with baseball camp. Is it baseball camp? That feels likely.
It feels likely, but it's not true.
Is it diving camp?
No, it's cycle camp.
Wait, why? Because of the moon cycle?
It's a motorcycle and bicycle camp.
Oh, motorcycles. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. All right.
I so rarely do well at lying to you though. So I'm not good at coming up with fake ones. So I tried really hard on this one. Yeah, cycle camp is a real place. It is actually a campground, which was built because this person thought there needed to be a campsite just for people on two wheels. So you can only go there if you have a bicycle or a motorcycle. And I thought that was kind of fun. It made me wonder if she had done research on Forks and seen that a lot of motorcyclists like the area. And that was maybe why her and, Bella and Jacob do that later. Okay, so here's my second to last question. This is just a kind of fun one about the population of Forks. There's a town sign in the museum that shows you in the movies what they listed the population as. So, which of these numbers is the population listed on the fake town sign, the one that was in the movies? And then bonus point if you want to guess what the real population is of Forks. I don't know. We could do it within like 100 or 200 if you get close enough. Okay. But these are your options for the fake population. 371, 713, 3,175, or 13,572.
I want to say C is what was on the sign.
Yeah.
But I think it's C. Is it C?
It is C.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
So 3,175, that was my guess.
Confidence restored.
I was second guessing myself because I was like, was it smaller? But yeah, okay, that was right. I was supposed to guess what the actual population is.
Yes, in the 2020 census, I have the actual population, and then I just posted a picture of the sign for you.
The actual population in 2020. My guess is that the population has gone up. So I'm going to say like 20 years or something from when the books came out. Maybe the population's gone up like 4,800. That's my guess.
That's like really specific. I guess all numbers would be. Okay, your guess is 4,800?
Yeah.
Okay, you have one digit correct. So the actual population was 3,864.
So it did go up, but not by 1,500, by like 800.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that it was so similar. I'm guessing when they made the movies, someone probably looked at what it was at that time, or maybe the sign was that until later, right?
It might have that in the book. It might have that specific number.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they had it made. I can't remember.
All right. So I have one more question for you. I feel like I have choices, but I feel like you're just going to know.
Okay.
So the Bella Italia restaurant is also real. It's a real restaurant where Bella and Edward had their first date in the nearby city of Port Angeles. What item on their menu is a tribute to Twilight?
Is there like a Bella burger or something?
I feel like you're just going to know this if you think hard enough.
A Bloody Mary.
Oh, I wish.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can show you the options. The tiramisu, the mushroom ravioli, the mixed greens with Bella's balsamic dressing, and the blackberry crumble.
Is it the mushroom ravioli? Because isn't that what they order?
Yes, that's what she orders in the book, and that's what they have on the menu. They actually, on their website, have a Twilight page that just has like the snippet from the first date where she orders the mushroom ravioli.
I see.
And then it says like, the quote from Edward is like, nothing for me. And then it says like, obviously. It's very cute. Okay, those are all my facts about Forks, Washington. I just really think it's a beautiful place that people should consider going for vacation. And even if you're not a Twilight fan, just go to support the local tribe and the local people and see some beautiful beaches.
Speaking of supporting the local tribe, Miko.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going into a segment that is not in any of our other episodes called 5 Things We Want to Mention, which is actually 6 things. So we're not doing like a top and bottom. We're just doing 6 things that we also want to talk about.
Yes.
So number 1 is about the cultural appropriation of the book. So and the movies and everything. As far as we know from researching, Stephenie Meyer, so she used actual legends from the Quileute tribe.
Yeah, which is a real tribe that lives in the area of Forks.
Right, in La Push.
They have their reservation there.
And she modified it to suit her fictional needs. And as far as we can tell, she's never given back to that tribe or like really acknowledged that she did that. She didn't like donate to them or support them or in any way that we can tell. And that sucks pretty bad.
She didn't make like a public statement, right? Like, I mean, it's possible she's been there, it's possible she's donated, but as far as we know, there hasn't been like a statement like, hey, I use these people's real, beliefs in my fiction, and it was not my place to do that, or she didn't, as far as we know, she didn't do that.
Oh, I know things can be like more complicated than they seem when you're not in that situation, but it doesn't seem like it would have been that hard to have like a special collector's edition where proceeds go to the tribe or something, anything like that, a special event or anything that would kind of like support them, considering that she made millions and millions of dollars probably off of this property that is very heavily centered around beliefs and like folklore that she took from this tribe and has never really given back. Because we're talking about this, we did look up what a box set of Twilight was today, and there's a very aptly named White Collection of the Twilight books with all white covers. So we each donated what it would cost to buy that set to the tribe, and we'll add that as a link to the show notes if anyone's feeling like they'd also like to give some money to the tribe.
Yeah, currently the tribe has a fundraiser because some of their buildings are built on lower ground, including the school. And if a tsunami was to come, it would wash all those buildings away and it would be devastating. So they've been doing this fundraiser to raise enough money to move and relocate all of them to higher ground where they could be more safe. We talked a lot about this because Liz and I, as you know, if you've heard our previous episodes, we care a lot about representation and about people feeling like they can tell their own story and about having diversity in stories, including sometimes having diversity that you're not part of, like creating a story that has lots of different people in it, as long as you're like trying your best to represent them well. And the general opinion we came to is that, like, it's really not our place to say with this situation because we are not Indigenous people ourselves. The best that we can do is say that we acknowledge that just like when people are talking to us about our race, we're just one person of our race, and there's going to be many different opinions out there. So, I would assume that there may be some people in this tribe or in other Indigenous groups that may like really dislike how it was portrayed in these movies. And there are people that have made videos online talking about things from their perspective. We'd encourage you to go and look at those. I think it's also possible that there are people who liked the fact that there was a male lead in a huge franchise that was, an Indigenous man or boy, I guess. He's not really a man, not yet. But, I'm sure there were lots of stereotypes and offensive things that were said to people because of these movies, like just how things people said to me based on impressions they had of Asian people, so I can see how it could have been really hard and frustrating when the movies came out for lots of people, because unfortunately that's what society does when something comes out and it's popular, is you have to live with the stereotypes other people force on you.
I will add that the link is to like a PayPal page, I think. And I did email the contact information for the tribe on their website and confirm that that was the correct link. So that should be legitimate. It is going to the tribe. And I'll also post a link to their website so you can check it out for yourself if you want. And I think there's a section on their website that does kind of talk about the legacy of Twilight and their culture today, how that impacted them.
When we did our trip to Forks, we ate at their reservation restaurant, which was really cool because they had like these laminated tales of folklore that you could read while you were eating your meal. And there definitely seems to be like, some tongue-in-cheek humor, like as you drive down to the beach, it'll say like entering like reservation territory, no vampires allowed. It's like this really big sign. So, they're obviously aware of this big cultural phenomenon. I think they're doing their best to like educate people about what's really true. I think it's a great place to visit. And if you do go, make sure you stop by and like check out the reservation properties as well. Like that's a great way to celebrate these people that live there. And if you can't do that, donating is another way to help support them. All right,
Yep.
so that was number 1 on our list of things that we also wanted to mention. And number 2 is also is a bit of a downer. We're just starting to talk about more in the last few years, but like a lot of the hate for Twilight comes from my hate of things that teenage girls do. And I wish I was like super, super educated and could give you all these like citations and stuff. And there's not that much that I could say, except there's definitely information out there about this. But it's also fascinating because teenage girls, in a lot of ways, have huge sway over our society. A lot of popular slang comes from teenage girls adopting it and kind of spreading it. And at first, everyone kind of acts like, oh, that's a dumb way to say that. But then it kind of infects culture, right? And they have a lot of power. They have a lot of spending power and money and the things that they're interested in, like boy bands and books and things like this. So it's just kind of sucky because, as we talked about with the Kevin Smith video, the fact that like there's a gatekeeping feeling that when it comes to nerd culture, certain types of nerdiness are okay, but certain types aren't. It has a real effect on teenage girls, and I think both of us have felt that partly from Twilight, but like I definitely felt excluded from like video game fandom when I was a teenager and when I was in college. And it's wild because like I've been playing games since I was like 3 years old. And no one has to, by the way, you don't have to outdo someone else to be a real fan. I think it was especially frustrating for me to see people like act weird towards me in a GameStop and stuff because of my gender, when I like knew like I was just like them. I knew as much about games as they did and liked them. So
Yeah.
that's like, I guess, my alternative take on the same problem. But like what Liz was saying at the beginning about how she didn't want to keep writing or she didn't want to tell people that she liked Twilight, like that's really frustrating, that to feel like you have to hide things that you're into because other people will mock it so much.
I mean, this is partially why I wanted to do the episode this way. Like when we talked about how should we do it, and we wanted to come at it through our own personal experience and not talking about is it good or bad, or like talking about plot holes or the writing quality or any of that, is through our own personal lens, because I feel like it's like putting the final nail in the coffin of just being like, I don't care if people think it's stupid, or I don't care if they want to judge me or whatever. I'm just going to like the things I like. And I'm reclaiming my love of Twilight, even though I acknowledge there's issues with it. Like, this is just me liking the things that I like. And I feel like this started with a journey of publicly re-embracing reading romance books a couple years ago, which we can all blame Miko for.
Yeah, but I have to blame my friend Alexis. So shout out to her because she's the one who infected me with romance books.
Yeah. But just being like, yeah, I like this thing and I don't care what people think. Because when I was growing up, I mean, the same thing, like liking video games. And again, you don't have to have been playing your games your whole life or whatever. But the spaces I was in and the stuff I was into really ended up kind of like influencing my self-esteem and what I felt like I was allowed to like or talk about liking negatively, like in a negative way, from like Twilight. And I worked at a comic book store when I was in high school, so I liked comics, but I didn't like superhero comics. That's not the stuff that everybody likes. I liked video games and I would play Call of Duty, but I also loved Harvest Moon and but those aren't like real games, or at the time.
That's how people talked about it. Like it's not like it is now where like
cozy games weren't a thing.
Yeah. I bet it's still happening, but it feels like now people are a lot more like, yeah, Animal Crossing, that's just a game everybody played, you know, when it came out. But
Yeah,
back then it was like you felt like you had to prove yourself, or people would accuse you of not being a real fan or a real
exactly. It's
nerd. And
like,
it's like, oh my gosh, leave me alone. I remember there was one person, this is another weird tangent. This is
okay.
Tangent Central. I was on a cosplay panel. It was a really interesting panel discussion because it was basically like, ask us your questions about cosplay that you have never asked. So it was open invite to like any topic. And this guy came up and he said, so the reason that you all dress in costumes is because you want to show off your bodies so that you can get attention from men, right? And I like part of my brain like exploded off the back of my head. But at the same time, I think he had a right to ask that if he really thought that, because that was the format. And what I realized at that moment was like, he really does not know what it's like if you're a girl in a
Yeah,
nerdy space.
yeah. You don't need more attention.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't need more attention. And there may be cosplayers who like to show off their bodies and stuff, but in my experience, most people I met were really excited about one of two things. One, just being the character, regardless of how much skin they showed. That was like part of what you had to do to make it accurate sometimes,
Yeah.
whether you wanted to or not. And the second thing was like impressing other cosplayers. I feel like this will be the hot take where everyone's like, that's not true. But I felt like that was a lot of our community was like, I want to make something really cool that like other people will find impressive. Attention from people who are attracted to you is almost something that just could happen anyway if you're just in a nerd space. Like,
Yeah.
so there's a random tangent that has nothing to do with this, but I guess what it has to do with is just the gatekeeping of certain groups of people out of nerdy spaces or out of fan spaces, you know?
Yeah. Again, like the beginning of that Kevin Smith videos, he's like, that's the next generation. Like, how many people started with Twilight and are now like huge MCU nerds?
Yeah.
It's just another fandom. I want to encourage anybody who feels like when you get that feeling, when you go in a space that's obviously not really catering to you, but you like the thing, like this is changing too, but like D&D, you like D&D and you want to go play a pickup game at a local shop or whatever, or you like video games, or you like comic books, or you like Marvel, or you like making music, or like anything like that, and you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. Fuck them if they don't think you belong there. You just go there, you do your own thing. You don't have to prove yourself, and you don't have to overthink it, and it doesn't matter what they think. You just like the thing that you like and do the thing that you do, and just like fuck them.
That's the mission.
That's what I want to do. I want that energy in my life, and I want to give that energy to anybody listening. You do the thing you want to do, and don't let anybody stop you.
If you're really into Claire de Lune and other people are hating on you for being basic, you do what you do and play Claire de Lune as loud as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's my joke answer. My real answer is like 100%, as Liz likes to say. There will be people that look like you that are interested in what you want. There are people who are like you, whether it's like personality, your background, your gender, your ethnicity, whatever it is. There are people like you that want to do that fun activity. And if you can't find that locally in person, luckily we live in a place where you could probably find someone online that's like you. You could find an online community, and you will see lots of them because people don't feel included and they think it's wrong. And even about the Twilight stuff, we've talked so much about teenage girls, but like obviously men liked the series too. Like grown women liked the series. That's like the perception, is that was only for teenage girls. But like I said, I had to go to all the midnight premieres with my group of friends in college, and they were not all women. It's bad both ways. It's bad when we say, oh, you can't like that, that's for girls. And it's bad if we're like, oh, girls like this, so it's bad. Like it's basically in general, it's just bad to tell anybody that they can't like something or be interested in something based on who they are, because that doesn't make any sense. And yet so many times in our society we see that, and it's really annoying.
That's exactly it. So
That's our big call to action pep talk in the Twilight of the Twilight episode. Anything else on that, or do you want to move on?
No, I think I got it. I got it out. I got it all out. I feel like I've entered into a new phase of my life.
Okay, great. Just in time for the next 7 episodes that we're recording that may or may not be more embarrassing. We'll see. You have to talk about this next one because you're the one who really knows. The romance payoff.
Okay, so this is partially a gripe and partially just something I've been noticing. So, like, the gripe is that you read thousands and thousands of pages of these books. There's some like A+ yearning, A+ kissing, putting their faces close to each other, lips ghosting across other lips, whatever. You know, like A+ YA kissing. This is the best you're gonna get. Pseudo smut. But you finally get to the part where they've been married and they're going to consummate their marriage. They're finally going to fuck. And what we get by romance payoff, it's really like there is no payoff. What we get is Bella freaking out in the bathroom, putting on her bathing suit, walking into the ocean to walk up to Edward in the ocean at night on their private island. A fade to black with them in the ocean. We don't even get like really good kissing or anything. Just a fade to black. She wakes up in the morning, you know, classic, iconic. There's feathers everywhere because this man fucking destroyed pillows and their bed fucking her. And then they immediately get into a fight. We don't get any like flashbacks. We don't get anything. He's immediately mad because there's bruises on her body that he left because she bruises easily, and they just had the most amazing sex / only sex of their whole life. That's it. That's all we get. And then right after that, she's pregnant. And like, and no offense, I want everyone to have the thing that they want. If you're like really into that, or like that's helpful to you because like you're a mom and there should be pregnancy romance. Like I want everyone to have what they want. However, the fact that we go from a fade to black to immediately having an argument to she's pregnant and that's a crisis is so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I accepted it as a teenager. I tell you as an adult, I do not accept it. I don't accept this. I don't accept it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what did you think about the movie version of that scene? Do you feel like it was more of a payoff?
Oh, of course, because you actually got like
you got to see something.
Got like glimpses. You got a little montage where you get to see an arm or like a back or a leg or whatever. You at least get to fill that in with your brain. This was the book is there's literally nothing, Miko. I'm telling you, there's nothing. There's nothing.
It's got to be like partly could be author's choice, but it's probably like publisher meddling as well, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was author's choice either, though. But yeah, I don't know that for certain.
And it's like, it doesn't have to be like extremely pornographic either, but you need like emotionally. Like if you want to know what Liz is talking about the payoff, watch Bridgerton.
Oh my god, especially season 2. Season 2, oh my god.
Like, yeah, Bridgerton season 2 is like people smelling the air around each other and like close-ups on lips and noses brushing for like 6 hours. And then when things go down, so to speak, and literally, it's like you feel like a warm and fuzzy, like, oh, this is exactly what I hoped would happen, you know? Like you want to feel like joyful.
And even in season 2, no spoilers or anything, but they also go straight from that into like another kind of crisis, but you still get at least a moment. It's like you get to bask in the afterglow also, at least for a second. Yes. And it's also like maybe PG-13 because of one specific shot that is showed.
I know what shot you mean.
Oh yeah, the shot that slapped me across the fucking face, Miko. For the most part, it's very PG. It's very like, just like Miko said, very well choreographed nose choreography. And
yes. There's so much like nuzzling and eye contact and stuff, and hands, of course, brushing each other
Yes.
because it's historical
Right.
romance. Yeah, it's basically like you made a promise at the beginning of a story, and it doesn't have to be a romance story. It's like, let's say, okay, like Black Widow. I really liked that movie. I liked it way more than I thought I would. And it's because at the beginning, you're like, well, it's going to be like a spy movie, right? Like there'll be spy action. But when the spy action stuff really happened, it was really over the top, like swinging on like cables and like flying through the air, like landing on pieces of metal that are falling to the ground from a plane. Like it is wild. And I was so impressed. Like I felt like we got a huge action movie payoff. So you can have this in a different story. It doesn't always have to be romance. But yeah, so that Liz wanted to say that because she found this to be not okay. Also, like, you know, basically any popular romance book series will do this well. There's a little bit of a formula where it's like the meet cute, and then like there will they or won't they, kind of like, are they like each other, and then there's some action that'll happen, but it's really leading up to when will they, like, you know, physically get together, and then there's when will they emotionally get together. And depending on the couple and the book, it could be either, you know, it could be like physical happens really fast, but then they're not sure if they love each other till later, or it could be like they're friends but they don't want to say that they want each other that way. You kind of need to give the reader what they want out of it, you know.
That's basically it. But I also wanted to say that Twilight is very unsatisfying in that way, but then you get to something like ACOTAR, which is very satisfying in that way. And I keep seeing things on Book Talk and Bookstagram that's like the Twilight to ACOTAR to monster romance pipeline, and I think that's real. That's a real thing. I've definitely participated in that pipeline. I got sucked into that funnel. I think Miko got sucked into that funnel.
I got sucked into that funnel. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fairy person. Just a general statement. No, I'm not that into books about fairies, but you know, like romance books is kind of like, I guess, the equivalent of people dealing like black market goods or something. Like you hear whispers like from your coworkers, you'll like find out that somebody you know is kind of into those books too. And then they'll be like, oh, you got a hit of this. Well, that's nothing because you want this stuff. And they like slide you a book, you know, under the cafeteria table or something. Like that's what it feels like. So I was like, yeah, I'm really like loving this one book. And then my friend was like, oh, yeah, that one's okay, but it's actually ACOTAR's the one you want. And so that's how I got into it. And we have to talk about ACOTAR.
We will.
It's a thing. It's a life-changing kind of thing, okay? Like I was stunned when I saw that, which you showed me about the people talking about Twilight to ACOTAR, because to me it's like everything starts with Pride and Prejudice.
I see.
I wouldn't say like Twilight starts with Pride and Prejudice, but like the idea of like the moody, misunderstood guy that's actually really incredible, but you didn't know it yet. It all starts with Mr. Darcy. I wonder what is the reasoning for this? Is it because ACOTAR like twists the tropes that are in Twilight a little bit?
I don't even know if you think about it that much, or if it's just like,
if you liked this at this age, you'll like this at your current age. Is that what they're trying to say?
yeah, I don't even know. I saw 2 or 3 different unrelated videos.
I think we're just being trolled massively.
Yeah, but also attacked personally, at least for me.
Did you see that one meme where it's like middle school, I'm friends with a monster. High school, I want to be in love with the monster. And then it's like adult, I want to fuck the monster. It was like, this explains books. And I was like, oh God, that is where we are.
That's where we are.
That is where we are. And where does the Shape of Water fit into this?
That's like straddling the line between the I want to love and I want to fuck the monster.
Yeah,
I think,
it's somewhere
right?
in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but like I already know I'm gonna be okay with that movie. Like,
yeah. It was before its time.
Yeah, didn't it win Best Picture too?
It won Best Production Design, Best Original Score, Best Picture, and Best Director. Yes.
Oh my gosh. See, you can do anything if you're talented enough. Okay, we already talked a lot about the movies, which was one of our things.
Yeah, we have to say the actual thing, though.
Oh, why the last movie is so good?
No, the movies are good, actually. And then both of our faces just being like,
Our brief foray into like drama, video critiques.
Yeah.
So first of all, don't do a Twilight drinking game if you really care about your health, because I've been at one that went bad.
You will die.
Yeah, it really didn't go well. Like, it got serious. And I've heard about other people who've done it. There's too much drinking involved. It's not going to be okay.
You're not going to have a good time.
If you want to watch the movies and you don't think you're going to be a fan at all, there's a site called Riff Tracks, which is some of the people that wrote Mystery Science Theater 3000, and they make audio commentary tracks to movies. We have all of those as well, and they are really funny during the Twilight movies. So if you want to have a good time and you're not sure you're like into Twilight, I recommend those. But I do think the movies are just fun. Like, they're fun to put on and joke about and talk about as you're hanging out with your friends or your family. I had the pleasure of watching Liz watch the last half of the movies for the first time ever for this episode. And it's like, if you know, and you get to show this movie to a Twilight fan that doesn't know about that last movie, like, it's a joy.
That was a life-changing experience. And this must be pretty rare, right? That I was obsessed with the books and know all the plot points and just reread them all and then watched the movies for the first time. Maybe I had seen the first movie. That last movie, Breaking Dawn Part 2, my husband watched it with me, even though he doesn't really care about Twilight. And Miko was there watching me watch this movie. When I tell you I was literally screaming, I'm not being cute. I'm not saying like, oh, I was literally screaming. I was literally yelling. My husband did not know what was going on because you go to the part where everybody starts actually fighting. And I was like, oh my God, they killed Carlisle.
Yeah.
This is what I'm yelling. They killed Carlisle. Anything is possible. Anything could happen. Edward, be careful. They will kill you. Alice, don't fall down the hole. Like, anything could happen. And my husband's just like, what are you talking about? I was like, they killed Carlisle. Anything could happen. That's what I kept saying.
This is cinematic genius. This is... You don't like, this is like, if you are a person making movies or books or like, this is to understand what they did in this movie, like, is amazing. And so are we just gonna like flat out spoil it because it's the spoiler episode?
At this point you should know already.
The thing is, like, I mean, and I didn't read this book, but apparently in the book there's a huge fight that's coming up. So the Volturi gather a bunch of people, and then the Cullens and our main characters gather a bunch of people. And in the books, there's no fight, right?
Yeah, they just get together, they have a big discussion, they kind of posture at each other, and then everybody just leaves. And it's not even like resolved really. Like, it's not even a happily ever after, because it's like they could come back later and kill us later. And they're just like, well, that's it. We're all saved because the Volturi walked away this time and they're not going to kill us. But the movie fixes this. So there's not like a big like anticlimactic scene. They give you an actual climax by still making it canon. Because Alice, they show what the future Alice is seeing, which is that Alice sees a future where they can't win. they can't win because like they will fight them, they will lose a bunch of people, and like they're not gonna get the result that they want. But in the movie, they just show you seamlessly like it's really happening.
I'm getting goosebumps even talking about this.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Like, how could I explain enough to you how brilliant this is? They know people are watching this because they like Twilight and because they hate Twilight. And they made a movie for both those people.
Yes.
That's still canon. They got to kill off half the cast and then have it not matter because it's Alice seeing the future. We saw this in the theaters. I actually did not see this midnight premiere because I was living too far away from my friend. So we saw it like the following week. And seeing this in a theater is pretty much what you'd expect. When the first thing that happens when there's like a little tussle and they pan down and you see Carlisle's head hanging and that dude's hand, the people freaking the fuck out in the theater. And also me. I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm just along for the ride in this series pretty much. I was shook to my core that they killed the dad. I was like, just like you did. It's like, oh shit. Like if they'll do this, they could do anything. What's going to happen? You know? And then you actually get to see everyone fucking fight and see all those powers and everything. It's really fun. It's a great time.
It's amazing. It was amazing. I did not see it coming. I didn't know about it. I lost my goddamn mind for like 5 minutes. And then I was like, wow, okay. Now it's back to normal.
And it's very satisfying, because like you get to see a lot of the Volturi characters that you know are pretty mean. Like there's some really exciting matchups because of Bella's power, which is like to protect people. So she's like out there shielding others from the effects of these bad.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And Edward literally throws Bella and uses her as a weapon. He just like holds her and uses her to hit other people, which was also just what? And the best gif of all time, where that one Volturi guy,
Marcus
is just like, finally. And you see that guy in the background running really fast at him.
He's my favorite character because of that moment. When all this happens, Marcus, he doesn't give a shit about anything. He's been waiting for someone to kill him. He literally just throws back his hands and says, finally, and just lets them kill him. It's actually in that riff tracks I mentioned, they actually stop riffing and just laugh at that point because they're so shocked that they're like, wait, what? And so you know it's gotta be good when like comedians are like stunned, right?
Yeah.
There's also the part where the blonde guy yells artifice because the little girl's blushing, and I mean there's werewolves chomping off heads, a lot of heads getting chomped off. It's bonkers. It's so good.
Yeah.
Also, small shout out to Breaking Dawn movie 1, because not only do you get to see the wedding scene, and then you get to see the making love in the bed with all the feathers in the air thing that we talked about. My favorite part of that is when she looks at herself in the bathroom mirror and she's like, don't be a coward. And you're like, what does that? And then she's like brushing her teeth and like changing into lingerie and stuff. I don't know. It's memorable, okay? But when she gets pregnant and the baby's like basically killing her.
Oh my god. That's seriously traumatic.
It goes full on into horror mode. Like she looks like a skull. Like the makeup and the effects and like the moment when basically it's the point of no return and her back like breaks in half, like so that gross. Is peak horror. So you gotta watch Breaking Dawn Part 1 because you gotta see all that stuff go down. Like that whole sequence at the end is nightmarish. It's so good. I'm a big horror fan.
It's seriously traumatizing. If that doesn't scare you away from pregnancy, like I don't know what will. Like
I was just gonna say that the third movie I never remember at all. Like how you said you don't remember one of the books. Like
Midnight Sun, how I like had an out-of-body experience. I disassociated.
I never remember the third movie. I remember they're in a tent at some point. Jacob's holding her in a tent. That's the only thing I know about that movie, which is weird.
Yeah. Number 5. Okay, this is your time to talk about werewolves.
Oh god, I don't even want to be on record saying this, but my opinion is that werewolves always get the shaft, okay?
Not in the fun way.
And not in the good way. Okay, werewolves, for some reason, at a younger age, I just decided I would always be like a werewolf person and not a vampire person. But this gets very complicated because there's not that many werewolf characters that I actually really like. I mostly feel sorry for them, which you can imagine werewolves in real life probably wouldn't like. If you are a werewolf, hear me out. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that in pop culture, they're always like, oh, there's like sexy vampires. And then there's the dirtbag werewolves that like guard the door because they're too dumb. And I'm like, that's so mean. Like, why can't werewolves just be equal to vampires? Like, I get that it's just how the archetypes have evolved, but it's weird. Like, werewolves are always like, they're either like Scottish dudes for some reason, or they're like bikers, or they're like blue collar workers that like are grunts that do the bidding of the vampires. And I'm not really sure why. I think I just always liked werewolves because they were, well, I like wolves. Like it just seems cool, right? It's like, yeah, that's my hot boyfriend, and sometimes he's a wolf. I take him on walks. I'm a dog person.
We need more Oz's.
I have early Oz on my list here of good werewolves. Yes, Oz was so cute. He's a great werewolf. The other two I put down is Dyson from Lost Girl, who is a cop werewolf,
Yeah.
and Alcide. I really like Alcide from True Blood, which I think he is a biker. He's a construction worker. He is a blue collar guy. They're really awesome. Okay, so I understand that Jacob is not a real serious contender for Bella's heart. And I also totally understand there's a few things about Jacob that cannot be ignored or erased, like falling in love with a baby. I think no matter how many times we try to justify that.
No, it's so eked out by that.
Given all that, though, I do think Taylor Lautner, right?
Yeah.
I think he did a really good job as this character. Yeah, I think he brought what people hoped for Jacob. Like he's very handsome in the movies. He's very likable, and in a lot of ways, Jacob as a character in the movies is the kind of the one that's like talking about how ridiculous the situation is.
Yeah.
When the two Romanian guys come and he's like, so like,
yeah.
We all agree, like Dracula 1 and 2, right? They're a little weird, right?
Yeah.
As a brief like Team Jacob thing, like I would say when the movies were coming out, I would have been like Team Jacob, just mostly for fun. Like we go to the movies, I would also like try to talk to other fans while we were there. Like when the second movie ended, I was like, how many wolves will have their shirts off in the next movie though? Tell me what's going on. And there's like women turning around in the seats being like, oh, they're going to be shirtless in the next one. You're not even ready for what's going to happen. I'm like, good. Yes, bring it. Like, so you just, try to have fun with the fandom and everything. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, there's a lot to like about him and werewolves in general, in my opinion. It's just unfortunate that there were a couple things that Jacob did, like the forced kiss and the baby thing, that cannot be ignored,
Yeah.
My last two notes say denim cutoff jeans, though. Like, I mean, there you go again. They put them, like, Edward's probably wearing, what does Edward wear? He wears, like,
button-up shirts, t-shirts, jeans, khakis.
So he just looks like a teenage boy.
Well, kind of. He's kind of too well-dressed for a teenage boy, but yeah.
But the too well-dressed, that's like the light hint at the aristocracy kind of feeling, right? But like denim cutoff jeans. But it is funny. It's like these guys are just running into the woods, jumping in the air, all their clothes get ripped off, and so they're just hiding jean shorts like in all the bushes.
Or they take them off. They run to the edge of the woods, take off, strip down naked, and then put their clothes in a little pack that they either hold in their mouths or strap to their legs. Yes.
It's all practical. It's just
It's a
kind of
lot.
funny, you know?
Yes.
And then my last note was just that I did like one of the choices in Twilight was I did like the choice they made for the wolves to be really big. That was kind of
Yeah.
fun because
Yeah.
usually people do werewolves as like half man, half wolf if it's more
Yeah.
of a horror movie. Or sometimes they'll do that. They can do either form. They can do like in between form, or they can do full
Yeah.
wolf. The wolves actually aren't that big. You know, they look like dogs, maybe slightly larger. So it was kind of fun to see that they were just like, yeah, for no discernible reason, these wolves are like 20 feet long. Like they're
Yeah.
huge. They're like
Yeah.
trucks.
Truck wolf.
Truck wolf. Yeah.
You've heard of teen wolf. Get ready for truck wolf.
Oh my gosh. If I had a truck that looked like a wolf, I'd be fine with that. All right, that's my piece. It's time for justice.
Hashtag justice for Rosalie. Hashtag justice for Leah. Rosalie, I was briefly talking to somebody on Twitter at one point. They were like, I need to write a Bella Rosalie fanfic, and this is why. And I was like, yes, please. I would love to read this because Rosalie gets done so dirty by this series. She gets painted as the mean sister who doesn't like Bella, even though the reasons that she doesn't like Bella are very justified. Out of everyone in the family, she's the one that's like, actually, no, we shouldn't be turning people into vampires. Almost half our family hate the fact that we are vampires. It's a very serious choice. It's not moral or ethical. And she just gets painted as like, oh, she's just jealous because she would rather be human. And so she doesn't want you to have what you want because she didn't get what she wanted. Not to mention, she only ever gets happy with Bella when she gets pregnant. And it's just totally painted as like baby fever. Like, oh, she's finally going to have the baby she always wanted. We spend a lot of Breaking Dawn in Jacob's POV during Bella's pregnancy. And I would have loved to have some from Rosalie's point of view and actually give her some characterization that isn't just like, oh, I don't care if Bella dies as long as I get to have a little baby. Also, Rosalie's backstory doesn't make sense. Her backstory is that she got engaged to this guy that was kind of a piece of shit. And then she was going home late one day and he was drunk with a bunch of his buddies and they did a big sexual assault on her and left her for dead. Why would he be engaged to her and then sexually assault her? Like, what? And leave her for dead? Like, what's the point of that? Like, he could either be engaged to her or he could, like, oh, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why both things?
No, and just a side note on what you're saying, I've definitely heard people say before that one of the strangest things about the Twilight franchise is that Bella and Edward are pretty straightforward characters. Like, there's not a lot in their backstory, but then, like, almost all the other secondary vampires, you get like 2 sentences about their backstory, and it's enough to make you like really curious.
Yes.
What happened there? And they're all like that. Why? Wait, what does that mean? Like, why was she engaged to him? Like, what happened there? Like, there's so much going on.
There's been whole franchises built on less than Rosalie. I mean, I don't love female characters motivated by sexual assault. I think it's a little tired, but can you imagine what a kick-ass like action movie it would be for Rosalie to go on like a Kill Bill style fucking like revenge plot to go like kill all the people? Because that's what she did. And you just get like 2 sentences about it. Like, yeah, Rosalie killed a bunch of guys that sexually assaulted her over like a series of years. She tracked them down and made their lives living hell. And then she murdered the shit out of them.
In the movies, you get like one shot, which is like her with the wedding dress on, like about to murder them or
covered in blood.
And then she's just like, I was more dramatic back then. Like, yeah, it feels like you're just sitting in the audience going like,
excuse me?
What? Can we go back? Like, if this was a TV series, that would have been like a whole episode, right?
At least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so justice for Rosalie. And also Leah could have been such a really interesting character. And she just gets kind of put in this box of being like the annoying girl, is the girl that's ruining this stuff for all the boys. Oh, she would be really hot, but you can't really think about it because when they turn into wolves and get into each other's heads, then she gets upset justifiably. Leah. Poor Leah.
Yeah, no, this is a thing too. This is part of my werewolf rant. If you want to be excited about the idea of werewolves, then I don't want to hear that they're like sexist and that like being a female werewolf is so terrible. That's not fun at all. Like, I want to hear about like female werewolves that are treated well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that problem with other werewolf books as well, which is why I say I keep trying to find the werewolf. If you know about good werewolf books, just please tell me. Like, I'll read them. I'm
Miko.
trying to find my favorite werewolves, okay?
Miko, is this the series that you need to make?
You know what? It's funny you mention that because I do have a story idea with werewolves in it, but we shouldn't talk about that here on this podcast.
Okay. All right. Nope. Don't talk about it. I'm just saying.
If you're clamoring for it, I'll tell you later, real people listening to the podcast. But I don't want to derail too much. I definitely had that thought though, like about like 10 years ago. I was, what if I just wrote a werewolf series? Because I'm not happy with any of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Leah. And it's like also, who is she imprinted on? It's someone who doesn't love her, right? So how would that even happen?
She wasn't imprinted. She was engaged to Sam, the like leader of the pack, or like de facto leader because Jacob wouldn't do it. And then when werewolf stuff started happening, Sam imprinted on Emily. And then he left Leah for Emily. And then when the werewolf stuff continued to escalate, Leah also got turned into a werewolf. So not only is she a werewolf, and not only did she get left by her fiance or whatever, she now has to share a brain with him when they're wolves.
Yeah, so that's so gross in so many ways.
And then she just like doesn't belong anywhere. She's just like barely tolerated, and she's justifiably angry about the whole situation. Yeah, it's just bullshit.
So then there's like a small drama, well, not small for him, but like Jacob leaves the pack and forms his own pack, and then she joins with Seth, who's her little brother. Seth is like so cute and the best, but they even in that, like, isn't Jacob and Seth don't want her to join them? And it's like, come on, everybody, really?
Oh, and her dad dies because Harry dies.
Oh, yeah. So we don't know who she would be imprinted on then. Presumably hasn't met them yet.
I don't think they say who she imprints on in the books.
He better be worth it.
Yeah, so she just gets like fucked all around.
And she dies in the big fight too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is there justice for Alice needed?
I mean, I wish Alice had her own. Her backstory is mysterious, and then you get like 2 lines about how she was like a asylum.
Yeah, there was some real weird thing that happened there where it sounded like she was assaulted or she was traumatized in some way.
She was traumatized and lost her memory and then became a vampire. Yeah, that also would have been super, super interesting to be like drawn out or played out or have a short story. You know, forget about Bree Tanner. I want to know Alice's story.
Why do you think it is that everybody loves Alice? I think it's that she's just another fascinating thing. Like, she's like, quote, the perfect best friend or something.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, she's a perfect best friend. She wants to do all the stuff for you that you don't want to do. Just like the idea that it's like, oh, I want to look nice at prom and go to prom, but I don't want to spend all the time like figuring out the perfect dress and like doing all this stuff. And Alice wants to do it all for you. So you can just sit there and she's going to do your makeup perfect. She's going to do your nails perfect. She's going to pick out the perfect dress and the perfect heels and all this stuff. She's going to have it all done. So you get to have the best experience possible without stressing about anything. And it's all going to be done. And she's going to take care of it. And she wants to do it. Also, she can literally see the future. She is really excited about Bella and wants to be Bella's friend and wants Bella in the family. I don't know. It's just like, it is like the perfect best friend.
isn't she then like a personal assistant?
Yes, Alice is basically a personal assistant.
It's like she's just like someone that just like anticipates what you need before you need it and makes sure it's done, while also being like cute and like supportive of you in every way. Like,
Yes.
what other series has a best friend like this? Like, I feel like more maybe for McIntyre, but more definitely has a lot of her own things going on. Like, she has her own agency and stuff she's trying to get done in life.
Maybe some of the Immortals After Dark best friends that end up getting their own books, kind of, but not to the same degree.
Yeah, it can't be that rare, right? Like, two women being best friends in a book series. Now I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, is it that rare? Because usually in a lot of the books that we read, there's so much focus on the love interest. And if you do have a friend, they're almost like a sidekick.
Yeah, but Alice is, I don't know exactly what it is about her, but people love her.
It's such a strange thing that she seems to have almost universal appeal.
I mean, she has her own cutout.
Yes, she's the only one with the cutout. That's not the trio. Yeah, so, I feel like that is another thing about this book. It wasn't even just Edward. It was like a whole life that you could insert yourself into where like your family's doing okay-ish. You have a great boyfriend and you have a great best friend. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Good for you, Alice. All right, we're going to do the Rhysand scale, right?
I'll write you, date you, calculate you. It's reason to see you fast. I love you, I hate you. Love you.
Mine's like a real downer.
I feel like mine's a little bit of a downer too. Like, I'm thinking about all the characters we're gonna cover, and I just can't. Okay, Edward's very special to me personally, and like is the reason that there are a lot of other like tropes and characters that I like a lot. And there's a few scenes, especially in the first book, that are really still do something for me. However, compared to the other characters that we're going to talk about and have talked about, I feel like Edward's like the number that's popping out to me is like a 3. It doesn't mean he's bad. It's just not the best of the characters we're talking about. I'm going to say 3.
Edward's a 3.
Yeah, he's really tall. He literally picks Bella up to kiss her.
Being tall is really important on the Liz scale, and being short's important on the Miko scale.
Yeah, her feet are like dangling a foot off the ground is the what's written in the book. And when I reread that as an adult, I was like, oh, that explains a lot, actually. So yeah.
Just to explain, the Rhysand scale is our personal rankings of where we feel this character fits in for us on the Hot Baddies. Subjective to our opinion, so you can totally rank them differently than us. And it's a scale of 1 to 10 where Rhysand is an 11. And since this has been a very ACOTAR heavy episode with lots of references, I think you know where this is going in a future episode. So Liz gave Edward a 3. I also ranked Jacob. So do you want to rank Jacob?
1.
Poor Jacob.
I'm sorry.
It's unforgivable.
It's not bad. Listen, it's like the 1 to 10 scale is still like, they're on the scale at all, right?
Yeah, so you have to remember that.
I think it's going to be a 1 for Jacob and a 3 for Edward for me.
Okay, so mine are pretty low as well. I was not like hooked into this. Like, I have spent a lot of my life thinking about Twilight and enjoying the movies and talking about Twilight. So I was really happy to do this episode, and I was happy to go to Forks and go to the museum and everything. But Edward was never a character that like I was in love with. For those reasons, I gave him a 2 on the scale. I guess it just never worked for me. I don't know how else to explain it. I never had a feeling like that. It's like when I watched the movie, it's like he could have been the same as the kid in the high school that has a crush on Bella, Matt or whatever his name is. What was his name?
Mike Newton.
Mike. Is his name just Mike?
Yeah.
So me, it would be like if she was in love with Mike Noonan the whole series, I would have thought it was like exactly the same, which is probably not good for Edward. Although I really like Robert Pattinson. I think he did a great job as the character. And then I gave Jacob a 3. So Edward a 2, Jacob a 3, just because Jacob is a werewolf. That's the only reason. He would have been even higher if he had not done those things that he did that are pretty bad.
Yeah.
If he had not done those 2 things, I think I would be like really firmly Remember, the two things are the forced kiss and the baby love. I mean, it can't get much worse than that, right?
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
I think if it had not been those two things, even though she prefers Edward, and that's fine, I would be probably really team Jacob. I love the fact that he's not a conventional love interest, and I like werewolves a lot, and I think he's really funny. I think it's funny how he's like, is anyone else seeing this shit? He's almost like the Deadpool at times, because he's like, am I really here in this world where this shit's happening to me?
Yeah.
What is this? All right, so that's my case.
Okay, with that, we've inducted Jacob Black and Edward Cullen into our club as junior members.
They're interns of the Hot Baddies Club.
Yeah. They have a lot to learn. They got a lot to learn.
They're allowed to come into the club, but they have to work some hours bussing tables and delivering drinks.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? But I hope no one who really loves Twilight thought we were hating on them or on the franchise, because as you can tell, like, we obviously care a lot about it and think it's really interesting.
I mean, it's very special to me. I'm going to say I'm a Twilight fan. I have issues with it, but I think it's really interesting, and it was really important and formative to me as like a teenager.
So now we have a section called Further Investigation, which is where we give recommendations specifically about things that we think are similar to this franchise and this character. So I am so excited to talk about mine. It also looks like you have a lot, so why don't you go first, Liz?
Okay, so there's this indie author. Well, she writes poetry too, but she has this series that's a polyamorous vampire romance. Lots of vampire romance, open door romance book. And the author's name is Molly Likovich. And she has a series called the Library of Teeth series. I think it's planned as a trilogy. The first 2 books are out. You can get them on Kindle. I'll put the link in the show notes. And I think her books are really fun. If you want a vampire romance that has actual smut in it, you are not going to go wrong with this.
I like the name too. Library of Teeth is like very memorable.
The first book is called Bite Back. And the second book is called Somewhere in Styria. Oh, the movie, Vampire Academy. Obviously, we kind of already did a shout out for that.
Please watch it.
Yeah, please watch it.
Please watch Vampire Academy. You don't even know about, do I say the phrase?
No. You'll know when you see it, and you should tweet it at us, and then we'll know that you know.
If you watch Vampire Academy, just tweet at us things you see in the movie and be like, is it this part? And there's probably like 20 parts that you think it might be, but hopefully you'll get it.
You'll love her dress.
You'll definitely love her dress.
You'll love her dress, and then you'll want to do something else to it. Okay, so there's this webtoon called Savor, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
It looks like it might be like Savoir or something. Like,
anyway, it's a vampire webtoon. There's like a dark side and like a weird romance and like possessiveness going on that I think is pretty entertaining and fun to read.
Okay. So I picked 2 of my favorite books, and both of them, I think, do the yearning teenage love thing really well. And that's why I think people should read them. And if you like that part about Twilight, if like you're into that, what it's like to be teenagers that are obsessed with each other, these are really good books. The first one is by Colleen Hoover, and she has many books that are very popular. I think this is one of her most famous and earlier books. It's called Hopeless. This is a book with really dark material in it. So there's a lot of content warnings, specifically like child abuse, suicide, trauma, lots of dark things happen. But if you're okay with some of that coming up in the book, I think that this book is really worthwhile. I also want to say, like, there's kind of an older phrasing of what it would be to be like, basically be asexual or aromantic, that I think is because we didn't understand those terms as well when she wrote the book. So you might not like how it's portrayed here, but it's not It's a part of the plot, but it turns out to be like not actually what's happening. So, in short, this is a bad boy that unlocks the secret of her past. And I want to read these to you because I'm holding you hostage as my other host. Sometimes discovering the truth can leave you more hopeless than believing the lies. That's what 17-year-old Skye realizes after she meets Dean Holder, a guy with a reputation that rivals her own, and an uncanny ability to invoke feelings in her she's never had before. He terrifies her and captivates her all in the span of just one encounter. And something about the way he makes her feel sparks buried memories from a past she wishes could stay buried. Skye struggles to keep him at a distance, knowing he's nothing but trouble, but Holder insists on learning everything about her. After finally caving to his unwavering pursuit, Skye soon finds out Holder isn't at all who he's been claiming to be. When the secrets he's been keeping are finally revealed, every single facet of Skye's life will change forever. These are all true. Yep. The dirty talk in this book, considering that they are 16-year-olds, is intense. And I mean, like, it's not a Fade to Black book, even though it's technically a young adult book. So, you know, stuff happens. All right, so that's Hopeless.
Yeah, everyone's obsessed with Colleen Hoover. I have not read one of her books, but I keep seeing it on Book Talk and Bookstagram.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about this book is she did rewrite it from his point of view. And it's called Losing Hope, I think. And I read both of them, and it was actually like exactly the same book. It was pretty impressive. But you definitely should read Hopeless first, because you'll know the twist if you read the other one, because Dean knows something that Skye doesn't know. So
that will change her life forever.
Yes, it will. Yeah, and his dirty talk will also change her life forever. Colleen Hoover, my goodness. Okay, and then my second pick is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. And this is essentially cold werewolves. These are boys that turn into werewolves when it's cold out.
Okay, cold wolves.
And this book is spiritually is so much like Twilight, because it's the same kind of thing where she's obsessed with this and her friends think it's weird. So here's the summary. For years, Grace has watched the wolves in the woods behind her house. One yellow-eyed wolf, her wolf, is a chilling presence she can't seem to live without. Meanwhile, Sam has lived two lives. In winter, the frozen woods, the protection of the pack, and the silent company of a fearless girl. In summer, few precious months of being human until the cold makes him shift back again. Now Grace meets a yellow-eyed boy whose familiarity takes her breath away. It's her wolf. It has to be. But as winter nears, Sam must fight to stay human or risk losing himself and Grace forever.
Okay, question. Why don't they move someplace warm?
They should definitely move someplace warm. This is ridiculous.
Okay.
It's like an infection. Like if the wolves bite you and you live, you become one of the werewolves, and they don't know each other when they're wolves. They only know being a wolf. So yeah, they should definitely move. I don't even remember what happens at the end, but it is exactly the kind of thing. Like she's super obsessed with this wolf. Okay, that's my two takes on that.
So who are we, Miko? We've been recording for over 5 hours, by the way.
Of course we have.
Yeah.
I'm Miko. You can find me online as Dr. Mikachu on Twitch or Twitter.
And I'm Liz. You can find me on Twitter at LizMakes and everywhere else at Illuminated Space.
The podcast website is hotbaddies.club. Head over to links.hotbaddies.club for links to all our social media. You can join our Discord community by going to discord.hotbaddies.club. Our theme song is The Hot Baddies Club by Ryako. You can find the song and the rest of her amazing music on her Bandcamp website, ryako.bandcamp.com. That's ryako.bandcamp.com.
This is the Hot Baddies Club.
The Hot Baddies Club. When I said that, it sounded like I was mixing up the first letters, but I wasn't. Okay, don't record for 5 hours, kids.
You've awakened inside me a feeling I cannot deny. don't know why.
I think maybe we should end this episode with Claire de Lune, though.
Maybe we should open the episode with Claire de Lune and we just won't explain
even
why.
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.